Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, you might be asking, what is Open Mic? Well, see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take some time to take live questions from the audience and hear what you guys want to talk about. But here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do. We just talk about the things you guys want to talk about in an all open mic format and discussion. And it is Sunday. I always love Sundays for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a relaxing day, Sundays. But I also love Sundays because it's our Dungeons and Dragons night. And we love playing Dungeons and Dragons, particularly with our new table. So we've been having a lot of fun with the new table. Our group's coming over tonight and gonna have a good time. But I also want to remind you guys that a little bit later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right now it's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 3 p.m. we're going to do our Toy Story 4 open spoiler discussion. So if you've seen the movie and you want to talk about it, we're going to do that live at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to that a great deal because I freaking love this movie. I absolutely love this movie, so I can't wait for us to get going and talking about that. But for now, we've already got a whole bunch of questions that you guys have fired in and topics that you guys want to talk about today. So let's not waste any time and jump right into it. And we're going to get things started today with Tyler Van, who writes, worst Ron Howard movie. Ooh, you know, off the top of my head, I'm going to say In the Heart of the Sea. But let me bring up Tom Howard. Like, first of all, I love Ron Howard as a director. I think he's great. I will always love him for, everything from A Beautiful Mind to Backdraft. Backdraft is probably my favorite movie of his. That's probably my absolute favorite. But let's see. So I really liked Solo. I thought he did a great job with Solo. In the Heart of the Sea, did not like so much. Didn't love Inferno either. Loved Rush. I liked The Dilemma, even though a bunch of people didn't like The Dilemma. I liked Frost Nixon. I wasn't big on The Da Vinci Code. Loved Cinderella Man. Loved A Beautiful Mind. I loved How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I loved Ed TV. I really liked Ransom. I loved Apollo 13. I loved The Paper. I liked Far and Away. I loved Backdraft. That's probably my favorite movie of his. Like Parenthood and Willow. The guy's just great. I'm going to have to go In the Heart of the Sea, which is really too bad because that was a movie that I thought had Oscar, like lots of Oscar potential, but hey, it is what it is. Dervunderbar writes, it was Big Trouble in Little China that Kurt Russell, I thought it was, that Russell quote in Thursday's companion video came from John. I thought it was, I knew it was Kurt Russell. I thought it was Big Trouble in Little China. I just wasn't 100% sure about that. Dervunderbar also follows up, I'd say I Am Mother does the runaway AI better than Child's Play. I don't think most people have seen I Am Mother. I haven't seen it. Now, I know that's the one with Hilary Swank. Hilary Swank's in that. I haven't seen it. And I think most people haven't seen it, but and I never felt any interest. You're the first person to Wunderbar I've actually heard even mention it, so maybe I should check it out at some point. Ryan Lohner writes, I now realize people probably need more information to find monsters. So it aired, I remember you're saying that's like one of your favorite shows of all time. So it aired in 2004 and was created by Naoki Urasawa. All right. That's because I remember I even did a quick look on IMDb and I couldn't figure out what show you're talking about. So thank you for that follow-up information, Ryan. I'm sure a lot of people are going to find that useful. All right. Chris Feldman writes, if Caddyshack, I love Caddyshack. If Caddyshack ever gets a reboot, Ryan Reynolds would be an excellent Ty Webb. And man, if you need a lesson on how not to do a sequel, Caddyshack it is. Yeah, Caddyshack 2. There's a long, proud history in Hollywood of great comedies that had terrible follow-up films. More modern day, Hangover is a good example. First one, magnificent. The follow-up one's not so good. Billy Crystal and I was going to say William Dafoe. It wasn't William Dafoe. Robert De Niro. Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro did this amazing little comedy called Analyze This. And it was fantastic. And so they did a sequel called Analyze That, and it was really bad. It was really, really bad. But then again, it goes all the way back, you're right, Chris, to Caddyshack, one of the most beloved, treasured comedies of all time. But if you bring up Caddyshack 2, the room gets quiet and nobody wants to talk about it. And the room gets awkward. Nobody wants to talk about that one. I don't know that they'll ever remake that. I'm not saying I'd be against it. I wouldn't be against it. I just don't think I don't think there's anybody that actually want to take a shot at trying to remake Caddyshack. That's just my thoughts on that. All right, Zach Bartran writes, I saw Child's Play and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's not a good film, but it wasn't the complete train wreck I was expecting it to be. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's not a good film. Frankly, I think it's a bad film. But the thing about Child's Play that it has going for it is that it legitimately has some really good, big, laugh-out-loud comedy moments. I mean, it's a gory film, and they do a pretty good job with the gory stuff and all that. But really, to its credit, it tries to be funny sometimes. And when it tries to be funny, it usually does it pretty well. It's a legitimately funny movie. And I'm not talking about one or two moments that made me laugh. I'm talking about like a good number of like maybe 7 or 8 big laugh-out-loud moments that takes it for what would have been a totally terrible movie to a movie that overall I still didn't think was good, but it has some upside that I think, even though I don't like the film overall, I think there are a number of people who will. So I'm very, very close to your evaluation as well, Zach. I think your evaluation and mine are pretty close to each other. All right. Film Chris writes, this is what she felt, Sons of Anarchy. That's Opie. That's, I believe... I wouldn't have known you were talking about if you didn't say Sons of Anarchy. That's the scene where Opie kills the agent. Sitting in the backseat of her car. This is what she felt. Oh my God. And Chib kills the other guy outside. Oh my God. I mean, look, Sons of Anarchy is one of the greatest television shows of all time. I'm pretty sure it's probably my second all-time favorite show. Second all-time favorite show. So many great moments, but that was a good one. Film Chris also writes, seeing Rocketman in 1 hour, hoping it's good. It's a good film. It's not in the same league as Bohemian Rhapsody, in my opinion, but it is a good film, an enjoyable film, good music, good performances, interesting story, interesting way they crafted the movie. It is a good movie. Again, I wouldn't put it in the same category as Bohemian Rhapsody. Not going to go down as one of the best films of the year, but I quite enjoyed Rocketman, so I hope you will too. All right, Mickey Altieri writes, over under 20%, Annabelle Comes Home is first in the box office next weekend. Oh, that's an interesting question. Let's bring up Box Office Mojo. And let's see what it is going against. It's going to be tough because Toy Story this weekend made, what did it make? Like 118? Made $118 million this weekend. Okay. So if it takes like a 55% drop, you're looking at a movie still probably making about 50 to 55 million next weekend. So that's 50 to 55 million next weekend. So the question becomes, can Annabelle, first of all, when does Annabelle Creation Comes Home? That's on the 26th. So can Annabelle make $50 million opening weekend? Let's take a look at some of the other opening weekend numbers for Annabelle. The first Annabelle opened up to $37 million. So that's pretty good. And I didn't think that movie was any good at all. That movie wasn't good at all. But then Annabelle Creation came out in 2017, which I actually quite liked. That opened to $35 million. And that was a good one. That was a really good one. So Annabelle Comes Home is coming off of a position of strength, because the previous film was really quite good. Can it make 55 plus? Because that's what it's going to take to be number one at the box office that weekend over Toy Story. Because Toy Story is going to come in around 50 to 55 million. So you're talking about Annabelle Creation needing to make 55 plus minimum to be number one at the box office. Whew, I don't know. I'm going to take a wild guess and guess no. Annabelle Comes Home will not be first. I don't even think I'd take the 20% number. I think I'll take under 20% on that. It's got its shot, though. I'd say more than 10%, but I'll take under on the 20%. Good question, though, Mickey. All right. Gadrin Gadrub writes, where do you go to find out when film embargoes lift? There's nowhere you go to find out. The studio, when you get emailed invitations to go to press screenings, they will let you know in those emails when the review embargo is. So like they'll send me an email and said, hey, John, come see Spider-Man Far From Home tomorrow night. Just so you're aware, though, the review embargo lifts on XX date. So they're letting me know, hey, I can come see it tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that's when I can release my review. Review embargo is this. So I don't believe there's any website that lists review embargoes. It's just that they tell us in the emails when they send us invitations when the review embargoes are. All right, Star Killer writes, the DCEU should reboot. All my friends who are regular movie fans are confused with the continuity now that there is another Batman and Joker, but when we go to an MCU film, they understand perfectly. Well, here's the thing, Star Killer. And it's funny, I was just emailing with Sam Witwer like 2 days ago. He got his picture there as your avatar. So for the longest time, and I believe the best thing to do for the longest time, I believe the DCU should have rebooted. They, however, chose to go in a different direction. And they decided to kind of change the way they were doing their movies, but without rebooting, which, it's not a bad idea. I just think a better, cleaner, more fresh page kind of an idea would have been to just clear up reboot. Just reboot the damn thing. But they went in another direction. And just because I think rebooting was the best option, that doesn't mean it's the only option that can work. So the way they're doing it, and look, they're having some success, right? Aquaman became $1 billion film. Hell, I didn't think that thing would make $800 million. And it made $1 billion. Shazam wasn't a huge financial hit, but it's awesome. Shazam is incredible. I love that movie. So you got 2 big wins in a row from my point of view. Now they got Wonder Woman 1984 coming up. If it's Patty Jenkins directing it, I believe that's going to be a good one too. Then you'll have 3 in a row. So, I would also say this. The whole confusion thing, I don't think that matters. We're smart people as general. I mean, well, no, we're pretty stupid people, but we're not that stupid. When we go into a movie and we start watching a movie, we catch on. We do catch on. If something is a little different from the previous movies, we catch on pretty fast when we know what's going on. Look, the X-Men movies are continuity schmontinuity. If you're going to get confused in anything trying to follow a continuity, it was the X-Men films, but they did just fine. Up until, Dark Phoenix. Anyway, so I don't think the confusion thing is going to be that big of a deal. Now, what would be really confusing is they had 3 different Batmen running around and 5 different Jokers and 6 different Wonder Women and 3 different Aquamans and all that's going on at the same time. Yeah, it can get confusing, but something as simple as this is within a cinematic universe, this is not. I think we as an audience can catch on, and I think we'll be okay. There was a little bit of confusion surrounding Rogue One. It's like, wait a minute, is this the follow-up to The Force Awakens? There was that. But guess what? People caught on. The film made over $1 billion, and it was perfectly fine. So, hey, so you're singing my song, Star Killer. I thought they should have rebooted for the longest time. They decided not to do that. They're going in a different direction, and they're having some success. So let's let Walter Hamada run with that for now. Because so far it's working. And let's see how it goes. Give it another few films. Let's give it another few films. Again, I'm the one who was screaming for the longest time that they should reboot. They chose not to do it, so let's let them actually have a chance to see if they can make this work. And I think so far it's going pretty well. That's my opinion at any rate. All right, thanks a lot for that, Star Killer. All right, Tyler Yeats writes, hey, John, do you plan on seeing Midsummer? I do. I do plan on seeing that. I think it looks really interesting. A24 is doing, as a company, is doing some really fascinating stuff, so I am planning on watching that. Adam Martinez writes, thoughts on the final Stranger Things 3 trailer? Here's the thing. I heard everybody talking about it before I saw it, like it was the greatest thing ever. And I watched it, and it's good. It's a good trailer. It doesn't alter my perception of Stranger Things. It's not like the greatest television trailer I've ever seen. I mean, it's good, though. I like it. But you got to understand, I'm already really looking forward to Stranger Things Season 3. Like, I didn't need that trailer to get excited about it because I'm already excited about it. But I thought it was a good trailer. I didn't think it was this mind-blowing thing that a lot of people were telling me it was before I finally watched it. But it's good. It's solid. It's quite solid. And I cannot wait to watch this season. I'm very, very excited about the season. All right, let's move on here. Damian Davies writes, can we all acknowledge in a time of seeing how many weeks a movie stays at number one in the cinema that the king of that mountain is Superman with 18 weeks? Whew, was it? Was it 18 weeks? Let me look it up. Longest number one box office. Let's see how that, how does that work out? Listen, longest top ranking movies at the box office. Huh, that's funny. Superman is not listed at 18 weeks. Right now, what I'm seeing is, hold on a second. The movie that ran longest at number one, I'm on Box Office Mojo. Okay, so I'm on Box Office Mojo. Is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which was number one for 16 weeks. Number one for 16 weeks. Titanic was number one for 15 weeks. Beverly Hills Cop. Oh, wow. Beverly Hills Cop was number one for 14 weeks. Tootsie, let me see if I can bring this up here. I'm not sure that I can, but I will try to if I can here. Here we go. E.T. the Extraterrestrial at 16 weeks. Titanic at 15. Beverly Hills Cop at 14. Tootsie, oh my God, I love Tootsie so much, was number one for 14 weeks. Home Alone was number one for 12 weeks. Back to the Future was number one for 10. Ghostbusters, or 11. Ghostbusters was in it for number one for 10. Crocodile Dundee for 9. Good Morning Vietnam for 9. Fatal Attraction, number 8. Let's put this into perspective, guys. Put this into perspective. Right now, if I go to Box Office Mojo, go to the full weekend chart, and we go to Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame's in its 9th week right now, right? Avengers Endgame is in its 9th week. Here's Avengers Endgame here. 9th week. It's number 13. It's number 13. That is the difference in eras. Remember I was talking to you guys about how before, as we go back to see if we can check out that list again. Like, here's a movie like Crocodile Dundee and Good Morning Vietnam were at number one for 9 weeks in a row. Avengers Endgame's in its 9th week. It's not even in the top 10. It's number 13. It's number 13. So that's why, guys, I am always talking about that, because some people ask, John, why do you keep bringing this up? Is it really a thing? That the movie-going habits of the average moviegoer has changed. It used to be not all that long ago that a movie would come out. It's like, yeah, we'll go see that sometime. We'll go see it on week 5, week 6, whatever. It's been around for a while. But more and more over the past number of years, there's been a growing trend of movies becoming front-end loaded, of people not waiting 4 or 5 weeks to go see a movie. People nowadays want, if there's a movie they're interested in, they go to see it in its first weekend, or its first week, or its first 2 weeks. Right? So even though, Avengers Endgame has made so much more money than those other movies stayed at number one for like 9 weeks because it's a total change of trends. We just don't see that anymore. I don't know that we are ever again going to, like, what's the newest movie? Let me just see. What's the newest movie to have a long run? Well, it was Titanic in 97, so 22 years ago. That was at 15 weeks. The next movie that was at least in 2009, which is 10 years ago, Avatar was number one for 7 weeks. In 93, The Fugitive was number one for 6 weeks. In 94, Forrest Gump was number one for 5 weeks. In 99, The Sixth Sense was number one for 5 weeks. But you notice you're not seeing anything in the 2000s. The Dark Knight in 2008 was number one for 4 weeks. Everything else is like, other than Avatar, everything else is 80s and the 90s. That's just a matter of how much these viewing trends have changed. It's crazy how much the viewing trends have changed. So I'm not sure where you're getting that Superman figure from. I have to go see if I can find that. It's certainly not registering on Box Office Mojo, but maybe it's different somewhere else. Anyway, but it's an interesting thing you brought up, Damien. Totally interesting. Ryan Lohner writes, I swear to God, even if Lucifer wouldn't like me saying that, season 4 is amazing, tight as a drum, and again, having real imagination with the setup. Guys, if you guys had a nickel for every time I talked about Lucifer, you'll all be rich. Lucifer is awesome. And season 4, oh my God. I was a little nervous about season 4 because, even though it was the same creative team, they were now going to be on Netflix. And so you never know if they're going to replace some of the showrunners, or they're going to do, but I tell you what, it might be my favorite season. I'm not sure about that, but it's great. Season 4 is great. All the stuff they did with Eve, now granted, I love the filthy, bring on the filthy, but I mean, all the orgies and group sex stuff and the stuff with Lucifer and Eve were freaking hilarious. I love the Eve and Mazikeen stuff. I loved it. I loved season 4 so much. I was so up for it. All right, here's hoping season 5 is just as well and sends the show out on a good note. K Majors just sends in a super chat. Thank you, K Major. Damian Davies writes, with Batman, Batman Returns, Hulk, Spider-Man 1 and 2, Age of Ultron, Darkman, Hellboy 2, and the Men in Black trilogy, is there a better comic book movie composer than Danny Elfman? Yes, I think Zimmer is better. Don't get me wrong, I like Danny Elfman. I like his music a lot. He has scored some great movies. I don't necessarily love all those scores in those movies, though. Like, to me, when you're looking at Hans Zimmer's, first of all, I think my favorite musical score for any superhero movie ever is still Man of Steel. Hans Zimmer, what Zimmer did with that is just breathtaking and awe-inspiring, and he's done it in other places as well. So for my money, if we're just talking about the score and not the overall quality of the movies themselves, for my money, I still go Zimmer. But, I mean, you can't go wrong. Like, if I'm a producer of a movie and I find out, hey, Danny Elfman is interested in scoring our movie, I'd go, oh my God, really? Like, I would freak out. That's awesome. So don't get me wrong. Don't interpret any of that as me casting any shade on Danny Elfman, the great Danny Elfman. I'm just saying, if you're going to put it to me and say, who has done the best job at scoring comic book films, I'd probably still go Hans Zimmer. That's just me. That's just my opinion on that. Let's see. Chris Sheehy writes, do you think if Sony could do it all over again, they would still do the deal with Marvel? They've had success without them since the deal with Venom's box office and Spider-Verse's reviews and Oscar. I think so, yes. I think if anything, all the success Sony's been having is just reaffirmed that them making that deal with Marvel to allow Spider-Man to appear in the MCU, I think, if anything, all the success they have has just reaffirmed for them that it was a good deal to make. Because right now, Sony is enjoying great success and making a lot of money with their Spider-Man character being in the MCU. They're hoarding in the money on that. And their own cinematic universe is doing quite well, thank you, without Spider-Man. We'll do a Venom movie. No, Venom movie's never gonna work without Spider-Man. Movie makes over $800 million. And in my opinion, was pretty damn fun. I thought that Venom movie was pretty damn fun. And then they do this little animated film where people like me were going, this looks stupid. That was me. That was me on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This looks dumb. Who cares about that? That animation style doesn't look good to me. This is a bad idea doing this when you got Spider-Man live action going. This is dumb. That was me. Turned out to be my number 3 favorite movie of the year. Not number 1 animated movie, not number 1 comic book movie. It was easily the number 1 animated and easily the number 1 comic book movie. Not Infinity War. Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse was the best comic book movie of that year, in my opinion. It was my number 3 overall best film of the year. My number 1 was A Quiet Place. My number 2 was BlacKkKlansman. But my number 3 was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Venom movie can't work without Spider-Man. This Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse looks stupid. And they've been having great success. Great success. So if anything, Chris, I would say, yeah, I think they feel more confident about their decision right now than ever before. They are having their cake and eating it too. They're having success with Spider-Man and making money with him over here. They're having success in making money with their own individual universe without Spider-Man over here. Life couldn't be better for Sony right now. Life could not be better for Sony. It is a decision that has worked great for Marvel. It's worked great for them. That's why when all these people were going, we should boycott Venom so Sony doesn't take Spider back. I'm like, idiots. If Venom tanks, then Sony's going to go, we can't make our own comic book movies work without Spider-Man. Excuse me, Marvel. Yep, yoink. And they're going to take Spider-Man back. If you want Spider-Man to stay in the MCU, you better hope and pray to whatever gods you worship that Venom at least does okay. You better hope that, because Venom doing well will make Sony think, okay, great, we can do this without having Spider-Man over here, so we can keep doing that. And that's how it worked out. So yeah, Chris, I completely believe that they are, if anything, even more happy with their decision today than any other time before. That's how I see it at any rate. All right, Javier Rios 405 writes, have you seen The Kid Who Would Be King? I never did. Never did. I heard nothing but good things about it. Patrick Stewart and all that kind of stuff, and I've heard it was really good. I just never got around to watching it. I got to do that at some point. Kyle Erickson writes, how did you meet Steven Spielberg's mom? Okay, long story short, I had done a movie. I had made a little movie called The Anniversary, and I had the legal representation, and my entertainment lawyer also happened to be a rabbi, actually. And one day he took me out to lunch, and he knows Steven Spielberg and Steven Spielberg's mom. So he said, how about we go to this place? I'm like, okay, we'll go to this place. And we get there, and that's when he tells me, this is Steven Spielberg's mother's place. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, she's a world-famous concert pianist. The music you're hearing playing right now in the restaurant is her playing. Oh, and here she is. And we had lunch there. So that's how I met Steven Spielberg's mom, was through my entertainment lawyer at the time. And the food was great. I just got to say, the food was great. And I swear, like, my entertainment lawyer was a great guy. But if you were writing a movie and you wanted to draw what would a stereotype be of an entertainment lawyer in Hollywood who's also like a rabbi? And so what would he look like? Whatever you're picturing in your head is exactly what my guy looked like. I mean, he had the hat, he had the hair stuff. I mean, he just looked like a badass Jewish entertainment lawyer, and he was awesome. And I don't know, I just felt kind of cooler standing around him. I don't know why, but that was him. And he took me there, and it was really fun. But I've never met the man himself. Never met Steven Spielberg. Never met him. Like, one of the very, very few guys in this business I've never met that I would be dying to meet, because he's my all-time favorite. Anyway. Let's see, where are we at here? Eddie Burton writes, do you think actors promoting their film on a talk show like Jimmy Fallon actually garners an audience to go see that movie? I do. I mean, it doesn't automatically mean it's going to turn into a big film, but I think there are a lot of films that people are kind of on the on the fence about. And if they're watching one of their late night shows and one of the stars comes on and they're funny and appealing, and they'll go, hey, I'll check that out. It doesn't make all the difference in the world, but does it have an impact? Oh, absolutely. But it's not the difference between a movie making $5 million or $500 million. I mean, it's the difference between, a movie making $100 million and maybe $108 million, which is $8 million, right? So I don't think a massive difference, but a difference. Yeah, I do believe, and that's why they do it. That's why the studios send out their stars to do the talk show circuits and all that kind of stuff. Doing publicity and all that. Yeah, absolutely. It does make a difference. Make no mistake about it. All right. Javier Rios 405 writes, I just wanted to let you know I joined your Patreon. Thank you so much, Javier. I appreciate that, man. You make my workday go by so fast, and appreciate everything you do for the film community. I've been following you since the AMC days. Thanks. Well, thank you so much, Javier. I appreciate that. And, I appreciate first of all, my Patreon members are awesome. We've got an exclusive group just for our Patreon followers that are always posting like amazingly cool things, and I read it every single day, and it's great. And they're awfully patient with me because, like, I've got this podcast I'm supposed to be doing weekly. I've done like 2 in the last 5 weeks because I've just been so busy, and not once. We have this exclusive podcast that's just for my Patreon supporters called Best of the Week, where I talk about my favorite things that came out this week, and then I just take, questions from Patreon supporters, and I answer all the questions. I'm supposed to do that every Friday. I've done like 2 of them in the past 5. And not once, even though they'd be fully justified to get on my ass about it and say, Campea, where's the next episode of Best of the Week? Even though they would be totally justified to do so, Not once has anybody given me a hard time about it. And maybe they should. Maybe they should give me a little bit of a hard time about it because I need to stay on top of this stuff. And my schedule isn't an excuse. I gotta keep up with that because I also really enjoy doing Best of the Week. I really, really like that, doing that little podcast. So anyway, my Patreon supporters, they're great. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you don't know what it is. When you become a Patreon supporter, number one, you get access to audio-only versions of our shows, which is kind of our main thing. But then you get invited to our Facebook group, and that's a lot of fun in there. We do other little things as well, like the Best of the Week podcast and stuff like that. But it just kind of provides a backbone of financial support for the channel. So guys like Ray and Jonathan and Robert and whoever our next host is going to be, now that Ashley is rocking her thing, it just helps pay for all of that. So thank you, Javier. I really appreciate it. And to all of you who are our Patreon supporters here, thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you. All right, then thanks for giving me an excuse to plug that, Javier. I appreciate that, man. Viana Parasu writes, if Endgame was shorter, like 2:45, would it have had an easier time beating Avatar? I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because I know a number of people that have said, I'd go see it one or two more times, but it's just kind of long. I know a number of people who've said that. Now, remember, we're not talking about it making an extra $500 million, but could it have made, out of its $2.7 billion, could it have made another 40 or 50 million? Yeah, but you don't change the nature of your movie just to fit into that box. They made that movie as long as they felt that movie needed to be, whether it was 2.5 hours or 3 hours. They made the movie the length they felt that movie needed to be. And look at the results. It made $2.7 billion. Getting awfully close to that all-time Avatar record. I don't think it's going to catch it, but it still might. But yes, I do think if it was a bit shorter, there are a few other average film fans that would have gone, yeah, I liked it. I just can't see me going for another 3 hours. Even if it was just like 15, 16 minutes shorter, it just feels different. There's like a difference mentally from 2:45 to 3 hours. It's just some big jump there, right? But I think it probably would have made a little bit more money, but maybe it wouldn't have been as good as a movie, right? And so you got to take that in consideration too. Daniel Manzanares writes, hey, John, have you seen Murder Mystery on Netflix? I have not. And I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not planning on it. I've just said it does not look good to me. I don't like Netflix original films. Other than Always Be My Maybe, that was pretty damn good. Bird Box wasn't bad either. But I've seen like 20 Netflix original films, and for the most part, they completely suck. And I don't like anything Adam Sandler has done comedy-wise in forever. I love his dramatic work, but I haven't been a fan of his comedy in ages. And then I've had a bunch of people tell me that it's totally terrible. Now, to be fair, I've had a couple people tell me it's also not bad, but it doesn't appeal to me. I've got so much stuff that I'm backed up on that I need to watch that I'm just not going to add Murder Mystery to my personal list. Near Ivana writes in again, Fox continuity schmontinuity, Marvel consequences schmonsequences. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I still remember before Infinity War, this is like months before Infinity War came out. And people go, hey, John, did you see the filmmakers talking about it? They said, oh man, the people who die in Infinity War stay dead. There are going to be real consequences to Infinity War. There are no consequences. They all came back. None. No consequences from Infinity War. They all came back. But Loki died. Well, now Loki's back too. The only real consequence I get that has come out of Infinity War was Heimdall. Heimdall was the one real consequence that came out of Infinity War. But hey, whatever. The movies are great. Just like for Fox with continuity, schmontinuity, it's true. They have no sense of continuity and they don't care about continuity. But you know what? I didn't care because for the most part, the movies are great. X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men First Class, Logan, Deadpool, continuity, schmontinuity. But who cares? For the most part, the movies are great. And that's all that matters, is that the movies are good. That's the only thing that matters. You use continuity to make good movies. If you can make your movies good without holding on to continuity, go for it. And I feel the same way about consequences, smonsequences. Is it funny and does it irk me a little bit that like every consequence gets undone in the MCU? Yeah. But you know what? The bottom line is the movies end up great. For the most part, the movies end up great. And that's the important thing. And if you're able to make your movies great without following through on consequences, well, then more power to you. Because the only thing that matters is, are the movies great and do we have a good time watching them? Continuity, schmontinuity, consequences, schmonsequences. If you make the movie enjoyable, that's all that matters, and I'll still be on board with you. Right? You make a movie that has terrible acting, but somehow you find a way to make the movie great and enjoyable anyway, okay, great. It would have been nice if it had good acting, but the movie was still awesome, and that's the bottom line. And that's how I feel about the Fox X-Men films, and that's how I feel about the Marvel films. As long as you give me great, fun movies, it's all that matters, and I can live with it. It won't stop me from making fun of the fact that they are addicted to fake deaths and no consequence. Sure, I'll still make fun of it. I'll still point it out. I'll still say I wish they did. But at the end of the day, the movies are still great. So really, there's not much to complain about outside of that. Anyway, let's see. Nick writes. And Nick sends in a really big super chat. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate that, man. Hey, John, hope you're having a great weekend. I am having a great weekend so far, actually. Thank you. I was hoping I could get you to react live to my movie collection. I sent you a Google Drive link via topic or question email that has a photo of my movie wall. Thanks. Well, I'll be on. First of all, Nick, thank you for sending that in. And I do get a kick out of looking at the pictures of new hot toys they get or movie walls. Now, I can't remember this one off the top of my head. I generally won't make that big topics on my show because that's not what people watch for. I mean, they watch for me to talk about the big, more major things. So I probably am not going to make that a big topic or issue. However, and I can't remember remember, I don't actually look at my email from Thursday till Sunday. Because Thursday I look at the email to get Friday's topics ready. But then I don't have a show on Saturday and I don't have a show on Sunday. So I don't even go and look at that email again till Sunday afternoon as I'm preparing Monday's show. So if you've sent it in there, I haven't even seen it yet. So just to be honest with you, I'm just going to be upfront. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm probably not going to make a topic out of your movie wall and talk about that on the show per se. But don't interpret that as me not valuing when you guys do send me pictures of the latest hot toy or the latest figures or your collections or your fan wall or your man cave room. I get a big kick out of seeing that. I do. But I don't make those big topics here because I know that's between me and you, not everybody else. So I probably won't do that live on the show, but do know that I do appreciate getting those very much. To all of you guys who send me that, I get a big kick as a fellow fan, and it gives me ideas and makes me have little visions about, what might I do when I get my man cave together, if I ever get myself to having a man cave, renting a place in Burbank. Anyway. So there's all that. But anyway, thank you, Nick, for supporting the channel, sending that in. And thank you for sending me your stuff. I can't wait to take a look at it, man. All right. Next up, Senpaigar writes, I took next week off and Showcase... Let me try this again. I took next week off and Showcase goes and puts on a Star Wars marathon starting Wednesday from episode 1 through 7. Damn, there goes my staycation. That's not bad. I mean, obviously, I would probably personally skip 1 through 3. That's just me. But yeah, it's always great when you can go back and watch movies you love on the big screen. It's just always great because, like I say all the time, Senpaigar, it doesn't matter what kind of home theater you have. I don't care what kind of speakers or surround sound you have. I don't care how big your TV is. Nothing is better than the movie theater. Nothing. It'll always be my favorite way to watch a movie. No doubt, no questions. When you get those opportunities to see them on the big screen again, that's always kind of fun. All right, Topher Rocks writes, Jared Harris is one of the best actors working today. I love Jared Harris. He's so good. I was so excited when he was Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes 2. Game of Shadows, is that what? I can't remember the name of it specifically, but he was great as Moriarty. I was always kind of disappointed they didn't follow that up. So hopefully they're making a Sherlock 3 now. They keep saying that they are. I'll believe it when I see it. He was great in Chernobyl. He's just great in everything he pops up in. And I mean, listen, I'm not going to say he's just as good as his dad. Of course, the great Richard Harris, but he's damn close. He's damn close. I mean, I just cannot believe, I'm trying to think of another example where a father was a great iconic actor and a son was on his own right and own merit is almost as good to be in the same conversation. I have to think about that, but Jared Harris is a treasure. He's great. I just love him, and he was so good in Chernobyl. TNS93 writes, just rented Captain Marvel this week, and honestly, in my opinion, it's Marvel's Suicide Squad. Started good. I think you probably meant to say started good, but ended in a mess. But it is watchable. I quite enjoyed Captain Marvel. I did. I really enjoyed it. But, I said right away, I think this is a really good movie, but it's not a top tier Marvel film. I kind of rank it with, it's not in the same conversation with Civil War or the original Avengers or Infinity War or things like that. It's not in that conversation to me. Winter Soldier. It's not in that conversation. But it fits in with the conversations with Doctor Strange, the first Ant-Man, the second Ant-Man, things like that. So I would say it's a middling MCU movie, but in the middle of the pack of MCU movies are all really good and really fun films, and that's where I put Captain Marvel. Now, it's funny because Captain Marvel and Shazam came out in the same window, wider window, but a window nonetheless. I prefer Shazam. Personally, I preferred Shazam over Captain Marvel, but that's not a negative thing on Captain Marvel. That's more of a positive thing on how good I thought Shazam was. So I actually thought it was quite enjoyable. But not a top tier MCU film by any stretch. All right. Ant Banks, 1984 writes, in the recent years, scientists have discovered Earth-like planets millions of light years away. I wish I had the space stone to find out if other life forms exist. Do you believe other life forms exist? Yes, I do. Does that mean I believe that alien UFOs have visited Earth? No. Does that mean, but I believe, look, the galaxy is a big, huge place. I mean, if life exists here, then life could exist elsewhere. Hell, even like a lot of my religious friends believe there's life on other planets elsewhere. Like their whole philosophy is, hell, if God, from a religious person's point of view, if God made the galaxy so huge and so vast, why wouldn't he put life other places? So from both my religious friends and my non-religious friends, I don't see any reason to believe that there isn't life somewhere out there. That doesn't mean I believe in UFOs and that we've been visited by aliens and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe that, but I do believe there's life out there. I do. Not that anybody cares what I think about that, but you're getting into the deep questions here, Ant Banks. You're getting into the deep questions here. All right. Der Wunderbar writes, the Man Who Would Be King is such a classic. Okay, then you follow. I was going to say, if you're talking about the one with Michael Caine, the one with Michael Caine and Sean Connery, it's funny because a buddy of mine, I had never seen the movie. This is going back like 15 years. I had never seen the movie. And then a buddy of mine who's an actor starred in a stage presentation of The Man Who Would Be King. And that's what got me turned on to the story. And then eventually wound up finding those other things. So I completely agree, Der Wunderbar. Mr. Asylum Project writes, thank you very much for the step-by-step process video. It made my day, literally. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Asylum. And you know what? It's because I didn't go do that from a technical point of view. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, on Friday's show, I kind of did a walkthrough of here is what an average day looks like putting together the John Campea Show. And so I did that. I put that together. Actually, let me see if I can bring this in here. I'm not sure I can, but let me see for a second if I can. I'm going to bring up this screen. Okay, and we got nothing there right now. Let me just see if I can add this in just for the hell of it so you guys can see what it is we're talking about. Because I still have the graphic here. Okay, so here it is. All right. So I put in this thing on Friday about, this is my average day. A John Campea Show preparation starts at 3 p.m. the day before. And then it goes through this list, picks up at 5 a.m. the day of the show, do the show at 9 a.m., do some follow-up stuff, companion video recording, and then it's just right into starting preparation all the way up again. We're back to 3 o'clock for starting the next day. So I just kind of walked through the schedule of what it is I did and how things come together. But what I didn't do was actually walk through the technical aspects. It's like, okay, I make these graphics, but how do I make the graphics? How do I capture my audio? How is my lighting so good? I think I have great lighting. That's visually, that's a big mistake a lot of YouTubers make. They do not pay enough attention to their lighting. And lighting is the cheapest thing to do. This microphone is more expensive than all the lights combined that I have in here. Lighting is the easiest thing to do, and you can do it for pretty cheap. But anyway, one of these days, I'm going to do a full video on walking through the technical aspect of how I put one of my shows together, from the camera. Like, I've got 5 cameras set up in here. I'm only using 2 for this particular show. 2. I'm using 2 for this. But I got 5 cameras in here. I'll walk you through what cameras I use, the expensive cameras I use, and the cheap cameras that I use, because you can use cheap cameras. I'll walk you through my audio, the type of microphones I use, the type of audio interfaces I use, how I like to level all of my stuff. I'll walk you through the different lights that I have, because there's several different types of lights I have in here, how I use them, how easy it is to do it, and all that kind of stuff. Background stuff, my video editing stuff, my live production stuff. I'm going to do a video of that here pretty soon to show you that just how hard and just how not hard it is to do it. It just takes a lot of work. That's all. And I'm going to walk it through at some point. But yeah, it was fun doing that little walk through my day. It was fun doing that little walk through my day. So thank you for that, Mr. Asylum. All right, next up, Mr. Asylum follows up with, how do you handle having doubt in your opinions? Sometimes I feel a need to confirm my movie opinions online. Oh, I don't. I'm just upfront. Like, if I've got a thought about, if somebody asks me, John, I don't know, if we're going to talk about an opinion about something that may happen in the movies, do I think Annabelle is going to be number 1 at the box office the week it comes out this week? I don't think it will, but I don't know for sure. So I just express my opinion, but I also just express if I have some doubt in my own opinion. Like, I don't think it will be number 1, but who knows? I mean, I'm not sure about that. I give it over a 10% chance. I blah, blah, blah. Like, I just express it. And then I'm completely willing to change my opinion if new information becomes available. See, that's the thing. There are a bunch of people I see online, not just in the movie sphere, but in tech, in sports, in everything, that they express an opinion and then they will stand and die on that hill no matter what, even when new information comes out. So like, when new information comes out and presents itself, I'm more than willing to change my opinion on something. Oh, new information? That changes my perception. Change my opinion on it. Like, for the longest time, I said Avengers Endgame will never beat Avatar. Never get close. But guess what? Then the opening weekend came and it made $357 million. I was like, well, that changes things. Now I think it will. And then it slowed down really fast. And that was new information. So like, okay, maybe I'm back to thinking now I think it won't. I mean, so opinions are never meant to be ground in concrete. Opinions should change when you get more information, when you get new information. That should change your perception of the facts, and that your opinion should change. So I have no problems doubting my own opinion, because opinions are meant to be temporary. Opinions by definition are meant to be temporary. Now, if you're talking about my own opinion about whether I like a movie or not, no, I'm 100% steadfast in that, because it's my own opinion about what I think. I think this movie's a good movie. I think that movie's a bad movie, and I'm never uncertain about that. Now, I can watch a movie and say, I think this movie's a good movie, but you may not like it. Like, just because it's good for me doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it, but I like it. I think this is a good movie, and I'm standing on that, even though you may disagree. And I encourage disagreement. If I dislike a movie, I'll say I dislike a movie, like Child's Play, right? I just recently reviewed Child's Play, and I said, here's the thing about Child's Play. I don't like it. I think it's a bad movie at all. However, it does have some pretty good upside with some good laughs, and I think there are some of you are going to enjoy this movie. I think if you're interested, you should check it out. I think some of you are going to enjoy this movie. That doesn't change my opinion about the movie. I still have my own opinion about the movie, and I'm totally steadfast in it, but I still acknowledge it. You may like it, and it may be good for you, and you should check it out. I mean, so your opinion is your opinion. It can't be and shouldn't be shaped by anything else. But opinions by definition are also meant to be temporary, that can be altered when new facts arise. So, so don't worry about it, Mr. Salm. I wouldn't give a lot of thought to it or worry about it. And no, you never have to justify your own opinions and things. If I take a bite of a type of ice cream and I don't like it, I don't need to justify that I don't like it. I don't like it. If I do, I don't need to justify that I do. I just do. Doesn't mean you will, but just do, you know? All right, Mr. Asylum also follows up and says, also, just want to say you've helped me in my life more than you will ever know. I wish you and yours the best of everything. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Asylum. I appreciate that, man. It's always cool when somebody wants to write in and just say something nice. Well, listen, I'm glad me and the movie fan community can be here for all of us as we talk about movies and fun stuff. Give us that oasis. Give us a little bit of an escape. Give us a time to just kind of reset our minds and just refreshen our minds with something fun and exciting and changes perception of the rest of the things going on in our lives. I'm glad the whole film fan community can be here for you for that, and thank you for sharing that, dude. I appreciate it. All right. Der Wunderbar writes, the head of the Nazgul was called Witch King of Angmar. That's right, because I remember the other day, oh God, what was the name of the head guy again? Who she says, I am no man. It was the Witch King, that's right. And you bow to no one. That scene always gets to me. Oh, dude, it always gets to me too. You bow to no one. I just almost crack up and weep whenever I hear that line, man. Just, it's insane. All right, J Meister 25 writes, rotten review, toys should never grow. Translation, main characters should stay static and never take in new information or have their worldview challenged. Probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Well, I mean, look, first of all, J Meister, remember, you just put a translation to what they said. Maybe that's not what they meant. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Also, who cares? Like, one guy who didn't like the movie, this was his criticism, it's a stupid criticism. Well, no, if that's the way it hit him, that's the way it hit him. And again, let's be cautious about putting translations onto things that they didn't necessarily say. So let's be cautious about that. Although I can't disagree with you that does kind of sound like what he's saying, but I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves and start bagging on a guy for something that maybe he never even meant, right? But at the same time, look, some people, films are subjective. That means even the most beloved of movies, there are going to be people who don't like it, and vice versa, right? So I wouldn't worry about it. What is not, I'll say this, Jay Meister, what is not a healthy habit for us as film fans to get into is to specifically hunt down movie reviews that don't agree with ours simply so we can dissect them to attack the review. That's not a good habit to get into. Obviously, I love Toy Story 4. I love Toy Story 4. But that doesn't mean I think everybody else needs to like it. And if there's some critics out there who don't like it for whatever their reasons are, what is not a healthy or productive habit for any of us to get into is to go out and find those critics that dare say they didn't like a movie I love, and then specifically go through and dissect their review just to find weaknesses to attack them for their opinion and their review. That's not constructive. That's not productive. It's a little bit of a waste of time, so I wouldn't worry about it. You know, all film is subjective. And that means there are going to be people that hate the movies we love. That means there are going to be people who love movies we hate. And what I think is a really, you know, film fandom has gone from just having debate about film to let's attack anybody who says something we don't agree with, right? Let's go and find excuses to attack people who say something we don't agree with. Now, I'm just talking about as far as just pure opinions about movies go. You know, you hate Star Wars? That sucks. But oh well, okay, you hate Star Wars. It didn't work for you. For whatever reason, it struck you a certain way. You don't like Star Wars, whatever. I'm going to say you're crazy, but you know, just facetiously. And hey, whatever, God bless. You don't like Star Wars, you don't like Star Wars. That's fine. And I just want to make sure we don't get into that habit though, dude. I think that's a habit we should avoid. About let's continue to debate movies without, you know, getting ourselves down into the muck of let's now dissect anything somebody says against the movie and just figure out ways to attack them for saying something about a movie that we don't like. It's not productive. It doesn't help anything, and it just kind of contributes to a toxic environment. And clearly that's not your intention. Clearly that is not your intention. So I wouldn't worry about it, man. I wouldn't worry about it. I just let that pass. Let that pass. All right. K Major writes, F yeah, Spectacular Spider-Man is an awesome show. Somebody brought up Spectacular Spider-Man the other day. I don't watch it because I don't like DC or Marvel's animated stuff, to be honest. There's a couple of rare exceptions. It's not something I watch though, but there are clearly a number of people who do. And clearly a number of people who really do enjoy that show, man. And God bless you if you do. All right. Rob J00 writes, hey, John, any news about Suicide Squad 2 yet? Nothing that we haven't talked about on the show. certain characters are turning, certain characters not. James Gunn's working. But other than the stuff that we've already talked about on the show a couple of weeks ago, nothing new yet. Nothing new yet. So, but I'm sure within the next month, probably we're going to hear some stuff around Comic-Con time. Now, Warner Brothers is not doing a Hall H panel, but that doesn't mean they won't drop news come Comic-Con. They probably will drop news during Comic-Con. So let's keep our ears open for that. Zach Bartran writes, after not liking season 2 of Stranger Things and the trailers for season 3 not doing anything, I'm suddenly finding myself excited to watch season 3, but I have no idea where the excitement is coming from. You know what's funny, Zach? I hear from a number of people that they weren't thrilled with season 2. I really was. Don't hold me to this. I may have even liked it more than season 1. I may have even liked it more than season 1. I'm not sure about that. If you ask me another time, maybe I'll change my tune, but I really did like season 2. I guess if you really did like season 1, though, just because one season didn't quite work for you, I could totally see why you'd still feel excited for another one. Like, let's bring up The Hangover. We talked about Hangover earlier, right? I love the first Hangover. Loved it. Not a big fan of Hangover 2. And yet, when Hangover 3 was coming, I was very excited. Why? Because even though they were batting 500, I was still holding on to my love of season 1 and a belief that they'll get back to what made, Hangover 1 so special. Because I still loved Hangover, even though there was one season I didn't like, or one film out of the series that I didn't like. So I think that might have something to do with it. So I'm going to go out on a guess here, Zach, because you didn't say it in your message, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you really enjoyed season 1. And if that's the case, then that's kind of the same thing with me with Hangover. Loved the first Hangover, not a big fan of the second, but I was still really excited for the third. That didn't work out so well. But I was still really excited for the third. And maybe that's the same scenario that's happening with you, though. So we're only about, what are we now? About a week away? Week and a half away from Stranger Things season 3. So we'll know soon enough. We will know soon enough, Zach. All right. Chris Feldman writes, how do weekend box office numbers come out Sunday morning when most Sunday screenings come out afternoon? Also, Toy Story 4 had a $118 million opening weekend. Yes, it did. Biggest opening ever for a Toy Story movie. Here's how it works. They get the analytical data for the late Thursday, Friday, and Saturday screenings. From that data, there are 2 different box office reports that come out, okay? There's the initial box office report that comes out on Sundays. What the initial box office report does is that they are able to, with scary exact precision, project. They see what was made on Thursday night, they see what was made on Friday, and they see what was made on Saturday. And they are able to project, well, then if this movie did this on this day, this on this day, and this on this day, we can expect that it will make this on this day. And it is scary accurate. Scary accurate. Like 99% of the time, like it's like within 99%, right? It's crazy accurate. So that's the number with Sunday's projections that comes out on Sunday. They give the box office report, comes out on Sunday, and that includes the real numbers from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the projected numbers for what they feel safe projecting for Sunday. So that's the initial box office report. Now, there's a second box office report that comes out on Monday, and that's called the box office actuals. All right? The actuals. So the report, the updated report we get on Monday is the one not with the projected number from Sundays, but the actual numbers from Sundays. But I'm telling you, it is so freaking accurate. It's crazy. It is crazy. Like every once in a while, you'll see something, oh, it was projected at 121 million. It actually came in at 123 million. Ooh, a 1.8% difference. Like you'll see that from time to time, but quite often it's just, nope, bang on the money. Bang on the money. And even when it is off, it's only off by like 1%. So it's crazy. They have a projection model that just really lets them, like I said, with freaky accuracy, do that. So that's what you're getting on Sunday. The box office report you get on Sunday is with the actual numbers from the earlier days and projected numbers for the Sunday. And then Monday, they'll update that with the actual numbers for Sunday included, but it's always super, super close. Like, you're never going to see a box office report come out on a Sunday and say, movie X made $50 million. And then Monday have the actual reports and came out and say, actually, movie X made $93 million. No, it's never that. It's always like freaky accurate. So 2 different reports. The box office report on Sunday and then the box office actuals on Monday, but they're always so freaky close. It's almost not even worth discussing the difference between them, because usually they're bang on accurate, and when they're off by about 1%. So anyway, but it's an interesting question, and I hope that answers that. All right. Let's see here. Rob J00 writes, my wife Kelly and I hope you are doing great, with a question mark. We hope you're doing great. Yeah, we're doing great. Ann and I are doing great. Busy Sunday, though. We crashed overnight at Ann's family's place out in Corona and Riverside. Drove back early this morning, doing some laundry. Ann's just run out to have lunch with Kaori. I've got the Toy Story 4 thing coming up at 3 o'clock, and then we've got our Dungeons & Dragons group coming over. Always love Sundays, man. Always love Sundays. They're busy, but they're fun. All right, James LH writes, hey, John, 10 months since I joined your Patreon. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate everything you do, especially after the loss of my dad in April. So sorry to hear about that, James. You said film can be an oasis. Seeing Endgame, John Wick, and more has been my oasis. You know, well, first of all, James, thank you for saying that, and thank you for being a Patreon supporter. You know, what I often mean by an oasis is that, you know, some people, and I understand why, they say movies can be a great escape. And that's true, but I see it as more than that. Movies and talking about movies, I find them to be an oasis. And what I mean by that is this. You know, if you're struggling through the desert and everything seems hopeless and bleak and whatever, then you come across an oasis. You drink and you refresh, and then you set out on your journey again, trying to get to whatever it is you're going. But you didn't just momentarily get a drink of water. You've cleared your head. Maybe things don't look as dark as they did an hour before you got to the oasis. Maybe you're able to see things from a new perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and your problems are still there, but maybe now they just feel a little bit more manageable than they did before. And I have found for me in my life, and I'm sure many of you have heard me say this before, for me in my life, that's what movies have been. Is that when I've been going through a tough time or a brutal period of time in my life or whatever, sit down, pop in a good movie, or jump online and get involved in a big movie discussion or whatever. When I come out of those, my problems are still there, but now my mind is a little bit more refreshed. Now it's not so heavy. Now my perspective has changed a little bit and my outlook has changed a little bit. And maybe my problems are still there, but somehow, some way they feel like it's either a little bit more manageable or that there's a little more hope there than I thought there was before. Or maybe I feel a little bit more confident in my ability to tackle and deal with these things. It's not always the case, but that's what I find movies are for me. And that's why I think part of the things, that's why we as a race have been storytellers. In the history of our existence, we as a species are storytellers. And I think stories have power. I really do. They kick drive our imagination, which does a whole lot for us. And yeah, I don't think movies are just an escape. I do see them as an oasis. And I'm really glad, James, that you found that as well, and that movies and movie communities and stuff like that can be that for you. I know they are that for me. And that's just one of the reasons why I love the movies so much. So thanks for sharing that, James. I really appreciate it, man. All right. Garrett Couch writes, John, after mentioning Google Play, I was able to get all my old songs onto Google Play Music that would never load into iTunes for free. Thanks for the tip. You are welcome, Garrett. And honestly, I've never used it for that purpose. So I didn't even know it could do that. All I know is that I have been a subscriber to and a user of Google Play for my music, for my movies, for my entertainment. I mean, I'm pretty addicted to the Google services. I haven't had Microsoft Word on my computer in 10 years. You know, I used to use a different, another piece of software that was compatible with Microsoft Word, but it was free. I'm trying to remember the name of it now, and then Google Drive came along, and I just use Google Drive. I use Google Docs to do all my document stuff. I use Google as my online backup. I use Google for everything. I'm a little bit addicted to Google. Maybe I'm a little bit over reliant on them. I'm not really sure, but I'm glad you were able to find a use for it that I don't use it for. So that's cool, man. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, one of two. Daniel Bernhardt has quietly racked up a pretty good action career. The Matrix, Hunger Games, John Wick, Logan, Atomic Blonde, Barry Season 2, Episode 5, because he's the Taekwondo guy in that. Not bad for a guy who started out in... was that Mystery Science Theater 3000? Subject Future War, where he was nicknamed Jean-Claude Gosh darn, I don't remember that. And you know what's funny? Okay, so yeah, if you guys haven't seen Barry Season 2, Episode 5, to me, it's one of the greatest episodes of television ever. At least one of the funniest. And this guy, I don't even know if he has more than 2 or 3 lines in it, but he plays like this Taekwondo world champion. And that Barry, I'm not going to go into it, but it's fabulous. Funny thing is, I looked the dude up later because I don't remember him from any of that other stuff. I don't remember him from The Matrix at all. I don't remember him from The Hunger Games. I don't remember him from John Wick. I don't remember him in Logan or Atomic Blonde. I'm assuming he's just really small side characters, whatever. But so I don't really know about that. So I don't know if I'd say he's had a great action career as opposed to that he's been able to have like bit parts in big action movies. But I do hope, just because of Barry Season 2, Episode 5, I hope some doors open for the guy. I really do. Because he's got a John Hamm kind of good look to him. He's a totally handsome dude, totally great at action. Hopefully there's a fit for him out there. Tony Hurd writes, Sony confirms Tom Hardy will be back as Venom in the sequel. In other news, water is wet. Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, really? I didn't know Tom Hardy. Sure, but until it's official, it's not official. And when it becomes official, let everybody know. So it's good for them to let us know. I loved him in that movie, man. First of all, I was excited when I heard that Tom Hardy was going to be in it because it's Tom Hardy. He's a great actor. Whenever you add talent, it's a good thing. But I wasn't prepared for how much I would like him in that role. He just owned it. And the whole dynamic between Eddie and the symbiote was just so great. And he played it so well, and I really bought into it. And I'm excited he's going to be back, and I can't wait for the sequel. Cannot wait for the sequel. All right, Timothy Brown writes, honestly, I find myself renting DC and Marvel movies rather than seeing them in theaters. Easier to enjoy. Hey, man, listen, our viewing experience are as subjective as our opinions of movies are themselves. You know, if what works for you better is the comfort of your own home, in a quiet living room, turn down the lights, pop it on your TV and watch it that way. If that is the experience that works for you, then all power to you. That's great. And that's the way you should enjoy them then. Myself, there is nothing better than a movie theater filled with strangers and all of it with a big, true giant screen and great sound and all of us together gasping and laughing and jumping out of our seats and all that kind of stuff. To me, nothing is better than that. I've talked about it before. To me, going to a movie is an event. It's an experience. It's an event. And I love that event. And I love going to these things. And to me, that will forever be the best way to watch a movie. But again, the way we experience movies is as subjective as our opinions of the movies themselves. And if that's what works for you, brother, then you do you, because that's the bottom line. All right. Timothy Brown writes, honestly, I find myself... Oh, sorry, that was Timothy Brown. Stars writes, do you also find that your enjoyment of a film sways based on who you watch it with? Any examples? That's an interesting question, Stars. That's interesting. I don't know. I'll give you an example. I watched... watching a movie with Ray, my brother-in-law, he is so expressive in a movie. No, don't go in there. What? Whoa! Woo! Like, he is very expressive, and it does add a different level of enjoyment to the movie-going process. I watched, The Conjuring. I had already seen The Conjuring, but then I watched it with a Josh McCouga, who cannot watch horror movies. And that added a different experience to it. I'll say this. Maybe if I thought about it more, Stars, maybe if I thought about it more, I might say something different. Off the top of my head, I really don't think so. I really don't say, unless it's something I'm sitting down with somebody I hate. But why would I be at a movie with somebody I hate? But maybe if I was at a movie with somebody I hated, that maybe would change my enjoyment of the film. That's possible. But I think for the most part, it doesn't change it for me. I could be wrong about that. And again, if I gave it more thought, I might give a different answer. But for now, I'll say, nah, personally, I don't think it does. But it's a fascinating question. I like that one. All right. So you want to be an Imagineer writes, thoughts on upcoming Broadway adaptations, Spielberg's West Side Story, Lin-Manuel's Tick, Tick, Boom, Tom Cooper's Cats, etc. I just don't know how West Side Story is going to turn out. Steven Spielberg is my all-time favorite filmmaker, so I'm going to go in with a certain level of expectation and excitement. So we'll see. I don't know how well West Side Story translates today, but we'll see. Lin-Manuel's Tick, Tick, Boom, I know nothing about it. Nothing about, other than the fact that Lin-Manuel is doing Tick, Tick, Boom. That's all I know about Tick, Tick, Boom. I don't know anything else about it. So I really don't have an opinion on that. Cats is a weird thing. I'm not a big fan of Cats in general, but also the musical Broadway musical. I'm not a big fan of Cats. As a matter of fact, Anne just went to go see Cats for the first time at the Pantages Theater here in LA. She hated it. But then I saw this at CinemaCon. They showed us this like 15-minute behind the scenes how they're making Cats. And it's going to be one of the most technologically advanced movies that has ever been made. It is crazy what they're doing. So I'll say I'm at least very curious about Cats to see how that turns out, because they are doing some really far out there techniques and using a lot of technology to make this movie come to life. And it's a fascinating cast. So that one, I'd say out of those three, Spielberg's West Side Story is the one I'm most intrigued with, just because Steven Spielberg's my all-time favorite director, and that's it. But Cats, I'm also curious about, just because of all the technology they're using. Tick, Tick, Boom, no opinion whatsoever right now, because I just don't know anything about it. James L.H. writes, speaking of films as an oasis, going to see Toy Story. Should be back for the spoiler discussion, but if not, we'll watch later. Enjoy, my friend. Enjoy. I had such a great time with Toy Story 4. I've already given my review. It's wonderful. It's such a wonderful film. And I hope a bunch of you guys will come back and talk about it with me more later this afternoon. All right. James LH also writes, had an advanced screening of yesterday. No, you're not a Beatles fan, but I am from Liverpool, so sort of in the DNA. Really good, heartwarming fun, and well led by Himesh Patel. Also Lily James. Lily James. Yeah, I have been fascinated by yesterday. Now, I've been a little bit discouraged because I've heard some not so great things about it, but I thought the trailers were great. And when we were at CinemaCon, Himesh Patel actually came out on stage and performed yesterday for the audience. It was great. So, and you got Danny Boyle directing it, and I love Danny Boyle. So I am curious to see it myself. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to see it. Again, a little bit of my enthusiasm got sucked out of it because I heard a couple people say not such great things about it, but I've also heard decent things. But I am still interested in seeing it, so I'm looking forward to yesterday. I believe. Okay, Pat Deary writes, Predestination, it's Memento and Looper had a baby. One of the most WTF movies ever. Have you seen it? Over under 40% MC. So you're asking two completely different questions here. Over under 40% MCU does Phoenix storyline again in the next 15 years, and I'll take under on that. As far as Predestination, I think I know the movie you're talking about. But I'm also probably thinking of a different one. Let me just double check to see if it's the one I'm actually thinking about. The one with Ethan Hawke. I was totally thinking of a different movie. No, I did not watch this one. And which is really weird that I didn't, because I remember I heard some pretty decent things about it. And I really like Handsome Hawk. I like Ethan Hawke a lot. But no, I never did watch Predestination. Memento and Looper are two films I love, though. So if you're saying it's kind of like a cross between those, it's got to be at least pretty good, right? It's got to at least be pretty good. But yeah, not the movie I was thinking of. This is good. This is why I need to check these things out, because that's not what I was thinking of. Thanks for the recommendation, Pat. I appreciate that. All right. Darklock63 writes, Endgame has already beat Avatar domestically. It's the international numbers where it falls short, minus 112 million plus. Still not sure why it's so important to some fans that Endgame's win. Well, it's a symbolic thing, I think. It's a symbolic thing. Look, when you have something that you're a big fan of, you love to see it succeed and receive accolades, right? Nothing wrong with that. Is it important for Endgame to catch Avatar? No, it's not important. At the end of the day, Disney still made $2.7 billion. It is one of the most successful films of all time. That's ultimately all that really matters. So does it really matter if it catches the all-time record? Well, not really, but that doesn't mean that we as fans can't have a little bit of invested enthusiasm about it, right? Because if it's a movie we love, we want to see it succeed and all that kind of stuff. Now, I disagree with the point that go, well, I wasn't planning on watching Endgame again, but I'm going to go buy more tickets just to get it to number one. Yeah, I think that's silly. I think that whole mentality is completely silly. But, as fans, when you love a movie, like, was I kind of cheering for one of my favorite movies to be the number one box office movie of the year? Sure it was, because I'm a fan of it, and so I want to see good things happen. So that's understandable. But is it important? You're right, Darklock. It's not important. But a lot of things in fandom that we get excited about aren't necessarily important. They're just fun. Again, I think it's more of a symbolic thing. And look, for a lot of people, Avatar has been the number one all-time film for a decade. For a decade. That means for some people, most of their lives, the number one film in the world of all time has been one film. And looked like it wasn't going to get touched for a long time. And now here we got Endgame that's right at the cusp of maybe catching it. And Endgame is a movie that a lot of people love, and a lot of people love the MCU. So yeah, it's kind of understandable that people would get excited about it, cheering for it, rooting for it. But no, at the end of the day, it's not really important. It's just exciting. That's why people are getting into that. All right. Paulio Licario writes, birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Paulio. Broke up with girlfriend. Freedom. Well, I don't know whether to say congratulations. I guess it wasn't that healthy of a relationship, Paulio. So if you got out of an unhealthy relationship, then good for you. Sir. But I'll just focus on the happy birthday part. Happy birthday, dude. I hope you had a great one yesterday, breaking up with the girlfriend notwithstanding, and I hope you have a fabulous year ahead of you, buddy. So thanks for sharing that. All right. O+98 writes, should or can the CW pick up Swamp Thing? Their DC universe has been successful, and maybe they can do the same to Swamp Thing. I don't know. Look, as of right now, I haven't watched Swamp Thing. I was planning on it, and then they killed my enthusiasm to watch it when they canceled it after one episode. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong for feeling that, but when you cancel a show after one episode, you take away any motivation I have of wanting to start watching it. So I haven't even watched it yet. What I will say is this. When I've heard people talk about Swamp Thing and describe the show, it does not sound like something CW would do. It doesn't sound like that would fit in with the DNA of CW. Again, let me reemphasize, I haven't seen Swamp Thing yet. So I don't know for sure. I'm just basing off of what I've heard other people talk about. And right now, what CW is doing is working for them. And would they want to introduce something in there that totally changes the DNA of what their programming is? I don't know if they would do that. So let me say, with the huge asterisk that I haven't seen Swamp Thing yet, and I'm only basing this on what I've heard about Swamp Thing, is that it doesn't sound like it would be a good idea for CW to pick it up. It doesn't sound like it would be a good idea. It's just too far out of character for what the general tone of their regular shows are. So I would probably guess, no, you got to protect that. You got to protect, the thing that your audience has an idea of what they're getting when they come to watch one of your shows. So I'm going to guess no. I'm going to go ahead and say no, they shouldn't. But then again, maybe I'll change my mind once I actually see it. Kenneth Colton writes, hey, John, so you hate the multiverse ID in the MCU? I do. Do you think 100% Iron Man will return just for the cash grab? That would ruin Endgame 4 for me. Well, look, first of all, everything done in every movie ever is a cash grab. Everything is. Everything is. It's the movie business. Studios make movies to make money. That's what it is. By definition, guess what? You go to work in the morning as a cash grab. When you go to work, you're going for cash grab. Don't tell me for a second that you'd rather go to work tomorrow on a Monday instead of staying home, big tray of food, your PS4, playing your favorite video game, watching a little porn, doing whatever it is you like to do when you have the day off at home. Don't tell me for a second you wouldn't rather be doing that than going to work tomorrow. All right? So why are you going to work? Cash grab. Because that's what we do. We go to work so we earn money and we can earn a living and blah, 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 blah. That's what we do. Every day everybody goes to work is a cash grab. The movie business, everything done in the movie business is about what will help us. I mean, you say, what will the audiences love? That's just another way of saying what will make us money. So, but do I think it's the only motivation is cash grab? No, I think they'll do it because they think the audience will get a kick out of it. Look, there's a number, let's be honest here. There's a number of things that happen in Endgame that's just pure fan service. There's a number of things that happen in Endgame that make no logical sense, but it was just done for fan service and we loved it and we ate it up and we thought it was great, right? And that's fine. So I totally believe that when they do eventually bring Tony Stark back, and I 100% guarantee you they will at some point, maybe not this year, maybe not in 3 years, but at some point he'll be back. Some way, shape, or form, he'll be back. And a big motivator of that will be, man, people will pay money to come and see this. Yes. But also part of their thinking is going to be, the audience is going to get a real kick out of this. So I do think it's the main part of the motivation, but I don't think it's the only part of the motivation. Let me address this for you, though. You say, if Tony Stark comes back, that would ruin Endgame for you. Really? Really? Let me ask you this. Did Spider-Man coming back ruin Infinity War for you? Just think about, whenever I talk to anybody about Endgame, usually or Infinity War, I should say, everybody just wants to go right to that. I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. I don't want to go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark. As he turns into dust and everybody in the theaters crying their eyes out. Did him coming back ruin Infinity War for you? Did that ruin Infinity War? You know, Bucky, Steve, and his leg turns to dust, so he starts to fall over and his arms turns to dust, and he says, oh, Bucky's gone. Well, he came back. Did that ruin Infinity War for you? I don't think it ruined Infinity War. The movie creates its own moment, right? The movie creates its own moment. And it's meant to be enjoyed in that movie. Whatever happens afterwards, that shouldn't affect what you do or do not love about that one movie. It's isolated to me. So I would suggest that when, I'm not going to say if, when they bring Tony Stark back, one shape, way, form, or another, I don't think it ruins Endgame any more than Loki coming back ruined Infinity War with that death he had at the hands of Thanos. I don't think it ruined it. Loki's back, but I don't think it ruined it. Gamora's back, but did that ruin the sacrifice that when Thanos threw her off the cliff? No, that was still powerful and emotional. Yeah, she's back, but it doesn't change it. You know? I'm not a big fan of that style of thing, granted, but it doesn't ruin something that was good. You know, that's my opinion at any rate. That's my opinion at any rate. So I would simply say, if you're worried Tony coming back would ruin Endgame for you, I would simply say, ask yourself, is Infinity War ruined for me because Spider-Man came back? Is it ruined for me? Is it forever ruined for me? Now, I can't even watch that movie again because this great, powerful moment where he dies in Tony's arms. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Is that movie now ruined for you? I would probably guess it's not ruined for you, even though he came back. Because it was still powerful in the moment, right? In the moment, it was still a beautiful scene. Even though I knew he was going to come back and we all knew he was going to come back, but still, it was still a powerful moment in and of itself. And I don't think whatever they do, personally, I don't think whatever they do with Tony Stark in the future will ever change that moment in Endgame. It was a great death scene. It was handled beautifully. It made for a really good emotional impact, even though I know he's going to come back at some point. It doesn't change that for the movie. So no matter what they do in the future, it will never change how I viewed and experienced that movie. So that's my opinion on that, at any rate. That's kind of how I feel about it. Anyway, okay, let's move on here. Paleo writes, Will they ever make a Tangled 2? P.S. You're the man. Well, thank you so much, Paleo. I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess they're not. Like, hold on a second. When did Tangled come out? Because Tangled did well. Like, Tangled made over $500 million at the box office. Tangled came out in 2010. So that was 9 years ago. Big hit at $591 million. Maybe the most expensive animated movie of all time. It says the production budget on that thing was $260 million. $260 million. That is one of the most expensive films of all time. But anyway, a lot of people went to go see it, made almost $600 million at the box office, but I'm going to guess no. It's not like it was a $1 billion film, and it's not like it was the most beloved, although I really like Tangled. I like Tangled a lot, but it wasn't the most beloved film, and it's been over 9 years, and I've never heard any whispers of them doing another one, so I'm going to go out on a limb and guess no. I don't think, I mean, anything's possible, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess no, I don't think they're going to make a Tangled 2. Dervander Bar writes, Love, Death, and Robots has been picked up for a second season. It comes in 2020. Yeah, they announced that a few weeks ago that Love, Death, and Robots is coming. I have still never watched Love, Death, and Robots. I really have no intention of watching it. I thought the trailers looked stupid. Now, that being said, I've had a lot of people tell me they really like it, including my buddy Soul. My buddy Soul watched it, and he really liked it. But it's just, to me, I saw the trailers and I thought they were lame. So I never even bothered trying it. And I've just got, again, too long of a list of things I'm backed up from watching. And so I don't have any intention of watching Love, Death, and Robots. I'm not saying anything bad about it because I've never seen it. I'm just saying I don't plan on watching it. But yeah, they announced a number of weeks ago that was coming back for a season 2. Patrick Conway writes, who is your least favorite famous Canadian? Oh, gosh, I don't know. I don't know. That's something I'd have to think about for a while, Patrick. That's not information I just carry around off the top of my head. ETT Media writes, are you currently watching Attack on Titan? Not currently, no. That show is incredible, superb storytelling. I know my wife's watching, so maybe I should pull her. Well, no, she's gone out to lunch now. Anyway, I'll get her on here sometime to talk about it because I know she's been watching that, so I'll get her thoughts on it too, ETT. All right, and guys, it's going to get a little loud in here. My apologies for it. It's about to get loud, but I need to turn on the AC because I'm in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, so it's getting a little bit warm and I need to cool the room off a bit because I'm starting to sweat, you can probably tell. All right. Aaron Kin writes, I know it's not a competition, but I think DC has a unique opportunity to gain some ground as Marvel begins to build life after Thanos. Well, here's the thing. No Marvel movie has prevented people from going to a DC movie before. This is the thing that I keep trying to emphasize to people. There is no defense in movies. There's no defense. You put out the best movie you can and you attract the biggest audience you can. One movie succeeding does not stop people from going to see another movie. Right? So where there is opportunity, like the one year that Marvel didn't go to Comic-Con, because they're going this year, but that one year they didn't, that was a great opportunity for Warner Brothers to take the spotlight all to themselves and really promote their brand. It wasn't because Marvel did this. No, it's just that they have the opportunity to have the spotlight right there. I think DC, regardless of what Marvel does right now, because Marvel's doing some of their best stuff ever right now, and they've just put out a couple of their biggest successes, critically with Shazam, financially at the box office with Aquaman, even though the MCU is very strong right now. So, but even if DC was putting out a fabulous movie every 3 months, I still don't think that takes away from the opportunity that DC has to be successful. And I think they're on a good roll right now. It's not a major role, but it's a success. They're on a winning streak, which is not something you can say for DC very often, but they're on a winning streak right now. A really enjoyable $1 billion film in Aquaman, an exceptional movie in Shazam. I love that movie. Second favorite DCEU film, just after Man of Steel. Man of Steel is still my all-time favorite, but I think Shazam is my second favorite there. And they're on a roll, and let's just see what happens there. Victor Gonzalez writes, you should try Psych. I keep having people telling me that, Victor. You should try Psych. It's really funny, similar to Lucifer, minus the devilishly charms, sexual innuendos, and non-supernatural. Light-hearted show. You know what's funny? I've had a number of people over the months, Victor, tell me that I should check that out. And you know what's really funny is that I go on Amazon every day just to shop around, see what's out there. Is there anything that catches my eyes or anything I need, blah, 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 blah. But for a longest time now, when I load up Amazon, Psych, they advertise Psych right on the front for the longest time. And it looks like a show I would enjoy. I think I got to finally get around to watching that. I got to get around to watching that. So thanks for giving me the added recommendation, Victor. I appreciate that. I will have to check it out at some point. Dervunderbar writes, "This is Fraser Crane. I'm listening." I loved Frasier. I mean, everybody, when Frasier was coming out, everybody thought, wait a minute. Because Cheers was coming, was rounding up, and they were like, "You're doing a spin-off show of Cheers, but you're basing it on the Frasier character? Really? Frasier?" Everybody was, including me. I was younger at the time, but I was like, including me, I'm like, really? That's who you're building a spin-off show around, is the Fraser Crane character? Seriously? And it was awesome. There are people who prefer Frasier over Cheers. Frasier was great. I love that show, and I love that character. I'm listening. Anyway, Patrick Conway writes, "I hope for a Maze and Lucifer duet in season 5. Look, I love the Maze character, and I love the little musical number she did in season 4. I believe it was a, what's the name of the band? The big English band. I can't remember the name of the band now, but she sang that big popular song, and that was sweet, but she's not the strongest vocalist in the world. Neither is Tom Ellis, to be honest with you, even though he's my favorite character on TV right now. So I'll live if they don't do a duet, Patrick. Let's put it that way. But it might be kind of fun if they did. Equal Shares writes, "Thank you for doing this, Shawn. I love this show." Oh, thanks so much, Equal. "I love this show and have been listening for the last few weeks since discovering it. The online community here is fire." Oh, thanks so much, Equal. It's really nice to have you along. I'm glad you found our channel, and I'm glad you're part of the discussion, and thank you for saying that, dude. It's always nice when somebody just wants to send something in to say something positive. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that, and welcome aboard, sir. All right, next up, Michael Sigmund sends in a big super chat. Thank you, Michael. He writes, "Hey, John. First time poster here." Well, welcome, Michael. Good to have you here. Just saw that the new Anna movie and really enjoyed it. Actually liked it better than Lucy. Great action scenes. Can't wait for Spider-Man. Thanks for all you do, brother." I'm telling you what, man. I'm still excited about seeing Anna. I haven't seen it yet. Obviously, my weekend's been very packed. Just got back into town this morning, doing this show, doing the Toy Story spoiler discussion. Then I got my D&D group, so pretty packed. But I've been interested in this Anna movie ever since the trailer dropped. Does it look like a John Wick female ripoff? It totally does, yes. But that doesn't change the fact that it still looks exciting. And I'm excited to see it. Haven't had a chance yet, but I really do want to get out there and see. And brother, you and me both on Spider-Man. I was excited to see it before. I was already excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. But then when all these people started reacting to it, and a couple of people I know who had already seen it start talking to me, and they're saying, like, "John, this is the best Spider-Man movie yet." And I'm like, "What? Time out, buddy. Time out. You're telling me you think this is better than Spider-Man 2, which is one of the greatest comic book movies ever." "Dude, I think it's a very different movie from Spider-Man 2, but I think it's the... I don't know, but still, I am stoked, dude. You and me both. Totally cannot wait for this. And again, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. And just thanks for being a part of our community, Michael. It's good to have you here, man. All right. Next up, Equal Shares writes, "Are you a fan of Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli?" Oh, I talk about them all the time, brother. "They are my favorite animated films, and I think Miyazaki is the best hand-drawn storyteller ever." That's hard to dispute. It's funny, one of the last years that I did the animation. Let me see if I can find this. I doubt I'll be able to find it, but let me see if I can. The last year, March Movie Madness animation. Let me see if I can find a graphic of this. Because, ooh, it looks like I can find a graphic. Give me a second here. The last year that I did my March Movie Madness, we broke it up into 2 different brackets. And our 2 brackets were, we called the left bracket the Lasseter bracket. Oh, I can't find an image for it. Well, here's something somebody else made up. Somebody else made up this graphic. This isn't the official graphic that we used, but it'll give you a little bit of an idea at any rate. So here's the bracket we used, okay? So we had on the one side the Lasseter bracket, and on the other side we called it the Miyazaki bracket. That had nothing to do with any of the films that were in either bracket. Like, it's not like we just put all Pixar films on one side and all Studio Ghibli films on the other side. It's just that these, to me, other than Walt Disney himself, are probably at the time the two. Now, nobody likes to say the name John Lasseter. These days in Hollywood, John Lasseter is he who shall not be named. But at the time, we just thought there are no two more iconic names in animation. John Lasseter, Miyazaki. And we had the Lasseter and Miyazaki brackets, and we did it that way. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Studio Ghibli films they're diverse, they're different, they're imaginative, they're crazy. I mean, I still would take Pixar over Ghibli myself. But Studio Ghibli's put out some amazing stuff, absolutely, and should totally be appreciated for that. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. Jerome Morgan writes, hey, John, took your advice, and me and a few friends watched Bubba Hotep. Nice, for the first time. Oh my God, what a good time. Okay, good on you, Jerome. Okay, for those of you who don't know what Bubba Hotep is, it is probably my favorite Bruce Campbell movie. Maybe I'll still have Army of Darkness above it, but it's close. Bubba Hotep is, and I'm not kidding, you can't make this up. Bubba Hotep is Bruce Campbell plays an old-aged Elvis Presley, and what it does, it imagines that Elvis Presley, when he was a bit younger, switched places with a lookalike because he didn't want to live the rock and roll famous celebrity lifestyle anymore. And he swapped himself out with a lookalike who took his place in his life. And that's the guy who died, not the real Elvis Presley. So now Elvis, and nobody believes he's the real Elvis, Elvis is now living in a senior citizen's home. And what happens? But of course, an ancient Egyptian mummy starts preying on the residents of the senior citizen's home, and only old man Elvis Presley can fight against the ancient mummy. I kid you not, that's what this movie's about, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I love this movie so much. It's so much fun. So good on you, Jerome, for checking it out, and more of you guys should check it out when you get a chance. It's called Bubba Hotep. It's really fun. Totally stupid. It's absolutely stupid, but it's incredibly fun. All right, BMC writes, rented Us and Captain Marvel over the weekend. Enjoyed Captain Marvel more than I thought I would and was really disappointed by Us. Lupita carried that film, though, in my opinion. I liked Us quite a bit, but I don't think it's nearly as good as, say, Peele's first film in Get Out. I thought Get Out was significantly better. I mean, look, plot holes don't ruin a movie, but when there are so many plot holes, it becomes hard to overcome. There's just a number of things that happen in Us that makes the whole movie kind of not make any sense. Notwithstanding that, though, the experience of the film I still really enjoyed. I still enjoyed the experience of the film. And holy crap, Lupita Nyong'o. Look, if the Academy Awards were held tomorrow, I think she wins Best Actress. If they were held tomorrow. And I'll be surprised if she's not at least nominated come the end of the year. I'll be surprised if she's not at least nominated come the end of the year. She is ridiculously good in it. Well, all the performances, the kids were awesome in it. M'Baku. Why am I freezing on the actor's name who plays M'Baku? But anyway, he's in it. He's great in it as well as Lupita Nyong'o's husband. It's really fun, just not nearly as good as Get Out was. And I enjoyed Captain Marvel as well. So I'm glad that sounds like a good time of watching some movies, BMC. I'm glad you did that, and thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. I appreciate that. All right, I'm Upset writes, can Cat Williams make a comeback? Well, look, can and will are two different things. People love a good comeback story. And look, John Travolta's made a big comeback for a period of time. Anybody can. Is it possible? Yes. Would I put money on it? Probably not. But it's possible because we all do love a good comeback story. Nicholas Priera writes, Cyclops need to be redeemed in the MCU. But do not forget about Rogue. The character needs other issues than knowing how to perform her first time. Well, I don't know about that. Like, see, the Cyclops thing, Nicholas, because Cyclops in the comics, he is the de facto leader of the X-Men, traditionally. There are obviously periods of time when he's not, and all that, periods of time where he's not even on the team. But I mean, the de facto leader, when you think the leader of the X-Men, other than Charles Xavier, is Cyclops. And he's a magnificent character, and he was so misused in every X-Men film, even the best of them. So misused. Rogue is not as important of a figure in the X-Men universe as, say, Cyclops. I mean, certainly she had a very major role in my all-time favorite comic book story, Age of Apocalypse, because she and Magneto were an item, and they actually had a child together. Wait a minute. Magneto and Rogue, like massive age? Yep, Magneto and Rogue were a thing, and they even had a kid together. But she can't touch anybody. Magneto created, I kid you not, Magneto creates a microscopic electromagnetic field around his dick that acts as a microscopic, you couldn't even see or tell that it's there, electromagnetic condom, for lack of a better term. So even though it feels like they're touching each other, they're actually got this microscopic electromagnetic field between them. Hence they were able to do the dirty, and they were able to rub body parts, and they had a kid together. Anyway, so Rogue was, and remember, Rogue was the, like, other than Wolverine, she's kind of like the central figure in the first X-Men movie. She was like the central figure in the first X-Men movie. And by the way, her ability or inability to have intimacy, that's an important thing about that character. That's played a key role in a lot of her stuff. So that's not a bad thing for them to focus on. But I would kind of suggest that, could they do a better job with Rogue? Yeah, but is it really important that they do? And she did feature very prominently in the first X-Men film. So I don't know. I feel more that way, Nicholas, about Cyclops than I do about Rogue. That's how I'll put it, at any rate. But let's see what the MCU has in mind as we move forward, man. All right, BMC writes, also saw Sucker Punch. Depressing, yet refreshing. Yeah, Sucker Punch is a movie that, look, I've said this before, you put that movie on mute, you could really enjoy that movie. If you just turn off the sound and just watch it, it's amazing. It's visually gorgeous. Zack Snyder is one of the most talented visual storytellers in the business. The unfortunate thing about Sucker Punch is you got to watch the movie with the audio on, and that kind of ruins it. It's not a good movie. But I love everybody. Jenna Malone was in it. Anne's friend and sorority sister, Jamie Chung, is in it. It's visually gorgeous. Action is great. Completely imaginative. Beautiful to look at. Just not much of a movie, unfortunately. Let's put it, Zach's done much better. Zach has done much better. Although from a visual point of view, it's just astounding. Okay, and then we have a bit of a jump here. Okay, here we go. We make it up now to Sharon Carter, who writes, did you enjoy Thomas Jane as Punisher? I did. I didn't necessarily enjoy the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, but I did like him in the role. And he even did a little short film called, what was it called? Laundry Day, which is kind of like a follow-up to that. I like him in the role. I didn't necessarily like the movie, but I do like him in the role. I'm Upset writes, are Toy Story films the only good Tim Allen movies? Oh, that's a good question. No. What am I thinking? Galaxy Quest. Oh my God, Galaxy Quest. I love Galaxy Quest. One of the best movies. Absolutely one of the best movies. I love Galaxy Quest all day, every day. So no, the Toy Story films are not the only good Tim Allen movies. Sharon Carter writes, better wrestler, Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels? Ooh, let's put it this way. I think as an in-ring technician, because wrestler is more than one thing. Wrestler is your in-ring ability, but also being a wrestler is very much also mic skills, presentation, charisma, all that kind of stuff. And these two guys were polar opposites in that. As an in-ring technician, Bret Hart, he isn't the best there is, best there was, best there ever would be, but he is one of the best ever. You know, I put guys like him, Dean Malenko, guys like that from a technical point of view, Bret was great. And I think he was even a little bit better than Shawn Michaels. But the other part of being a wrestler, the charisma, the mic skills and all that kind of stuff, you got to give that nod to Shawn Michaels. So it's a tie. They each have their strengths. That's what I'd say. They each had their strengths. All right. Gabriel Bloom writes, people mad at Jeremy Irons for not voicing Scar, mad that Jeremy Irons is not voicing Scar, but a line speaking with the, let me try this again, Gabriel. People mad at Jeremy Irons not voicing Scar, but a lion speaking with the haha, I am the villain voice in realistic environment wouldn't work. I see what you're saying. Well, no, I don't know that in particular. Look, I would have been fine if Jeremy Irons did the voice of Scar. Actually, I would have loved it if Jeremy Irons did the voice of Scar. But I'm kind of the opinion that if you're doing a reboot, you reboot it, right? Now, I'll make some exceptions. James Earl Jones as Mufasa, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in a Spider-Man movie. Those are the two exceptions I'd make. But I think if you do one, then it's really problematic to add another. Like, there are some people say, well, if you've got James Earl Jones, then you should have also got Jeremy Irons. To me, it's not. That makes it even worse. And again, I wouldn't have complained because I love Jeremy Irons. But now, would his voice have worked as Scar? Oh, I absolutely believe it would have. Absolutely believe it would have. Because I think Chiwetel Ejiofor brings a villainous tone to it as well. So I don't think it's a matter that a villainous tone wouldn't work. And this isn't a live action. Well, it is a realistic environment, though. So I don't know. I think you're looking at it a certain way. I think I might look at it a little bit a different way. But hey, man, we'll find out for sure when we see the movie. And it's just a little bit away now. I'm actually seeing it in a week and a half. I'm seeing Lion King in a week and a half. We'll see how it all kind of works out. I think we're all pretty excited about it, though, Gabriel. I think we can say that. All right, Santez Henderson writes, hey, John, have you tried Shadow of Mordor video game? No, but it's funny because I was looking for a new PC game to start playing, and a lot of people were recommending to me Shadow of Mordor. I think I'm going to load that up and give it a shot because I've heard good things about it. The gameplay looks really kind of good, so I think I'm going to give that one a shot. Thanks for the recommendation, Santez. All right. Last question I'm going to take, and then I'm going to take a short 5-minute break here, guys. Let's see here. Santez Henderson, no, that was Santana Henderson. Tracy E. writes, do you think Spider-Man Far From Home could make more money than Black Panther at the box office? No. No. I do believe it will join the $1 billion club, but there's a $300 million difference between joining the $1 billion club and where Black Panther was, because like Black Panther's like 1.3. Is it possible? It's possible. Would I put money on it? No. I don't think Spider-Man Far From Home will make as much as Black Panther. It'll be in the neighborhood. I think it'll join the $1 billion club, but that's an extra $300 million on top of that. So I'm going to guess no, but it's possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible. Dakota Barber writes, saw Toy Story 4 with Mom, second favorite of the year and of the Toy Story series. The comedy was on point and the lessons of life illustrated were great. What a franchise. It's crazy, Dakota. It's nuts. It's so nuts. It borders on unfair of how good this franchise is. And this movie, great laughs, deep existential, like questioning the meaning of life types of questions, deep emotion, some creepy parts. It's a wonderful film, Dakota. I'm glad you saw it and I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. All right, Guy Volt writes, what's Leonardo DiCaprio's worst movie? He doesn't have many bad ones. Let me look up his list here. Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's go down through his acting credits, shall we? I think, well, let's see. Oh, you know what? I can't remember the name of the one he did with Armie Hammer. Hoover? I think it was Hoover. That might be his worst. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, haven't seen yet. Revenant was great. Wolf of Wall Street was great. I thought The Great Gatsby was good. Not great, but I thought that was good. Django Unchained is great. J. Edgar. I think that one is probably Inception, great. Shutter Island, great. Revolutionary Road. Body of Lies. I still enjoyed Body of Lies. Blood Diamond, great. The Departed, great. The Aviator, great. Catch Me If You Can, great. Gangs of New York, great. Oh, The Beach. There we go. The Beach. Yep. The Beach was worse than J. Edgar. So I'm going to say The Beach. Gabriel Bloom writes, which one is better and why? 50 Shades Darker or Star Wars the holiday special? Well, 50 Shades Darker, because it's an actual movie. It's horrible, it's terrible, but it's nothing like the Gong Show joke that the Star Wars holiday special is. At least you can say 50 Shades Darker is a legitimate movie. A horrible one, but that is even better than the Star Wars holiday special. Gabriel also follows up. John and Anne walk, by the way, Anne has no E. Everybody keeps writing to me about Anne and they put E on the end. There's no E on Anne. Anyway, John and Anne walking down the street in Vancouver and past Deadpool. Deadpool looks at Anne and says, "That's Canada's ass." Well, no. Anne is born in Hollywood. Anne is Filipino, who was born in Hollywood. She is America. My ass is Canada's ass, just to be clear about that. Dancing Dog 60 writes, West Side Story will be huge next Christmas. Yes, I don't know. I'm not convinced of that. But then again, it depends on what's our definition of huge. It'll make $200 million if we're counting that as huge, then yes. But like $700 million? I don't think so. I don't think a movie like that makes $700 million. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan, but my guess right now is that's not going to be huge. But hey, let's wait to see some trailers and see how the audience is responding to it. But right now I'm going to guess no. Robert Giachinta writes, what's your opinion? What's, in your opinion, the most underrated film of all time? Mine is a small movie called Band Slam with Lisa Kudrow. Really good. I don't know all time off the top of my head. I mean, when I think of underrated films, I mean, a couple of big ones come to mind. Stardust, which I believe is like the new Princess Bride. I think Stardust is magnificent. I love this movie and hardly anybody saw it when it was in theaters. And it was a big wide release film. But Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro, Claire Danes, the dude who plays Daredevil, why am I freezing on his name? Henry Cavill, Ricky Gervais. It's a magnificent, wonderful movie. Totally underrated. Man of Steel, I think is one of the most underrated films of all time. I think it's the most underrated comic book film of all time. But again, that's not information to keep off the top of my head, Robert. If I sat down and really went through some big lists and really thought about it, I might come up with some other ones. But those are a couple of ones off the top of my head that I think are really quite underrated. Patrick Conway writes, over under 60%. Lucifer finally confronts God in season 5. I'll take over 60% on that. They teased it a little bit at the end of season 3. They did a little bit of a tease of that. I think he will finally have a confrontation with dear old dad. I think that's coming in season 5, so I'll take over not 100%, but I'll take over 60%. Terry Giordano writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Terry. Big argument at work. Best TV season, series, finale. Well, those are two different things. Season finale and series finale are two different things. Anyway, best TV season, series finale. Last episode of all time is, last episode. Okay, series finale, final episode. You say it's 6 feet under, Bring on the Filthy. I have always been, and that's a good one. But to me, the best series finale of all time. And most shows don't have good series finales. Even many of the best shows don't have good series finales. But the best series finale ever is not my favorite show of all time, but Star Trek The Next Generation. The All Good Things episodes, greatest series finale ever. It was a perfect finale for what that show was in its entirety. It was brilliant. It was breathtaking. Absolutely, the 6 feet under one is great. But for my money, I'm putting on Star Trek Next Generation, All Good Things, best series finale. It brought the whole show full circle with Q and all that kind of, and Picard. It was just, I don't know that you can do a series finale better than that one did. So that's just my opinion on that. All right, Gabriel Bloom writes, my all top 5 comic B characters. King, 1. Superman, King 1A, Batman, what? My all-time comic. Oh, you're saying King number 1 is Superman. Okay, I'm like, what are we who is King? What? Okay, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Wolverine, The Flash. That's a good classic lineup, man. That's a good classic lineup. My all-time favorite comic book character, is Magneto. I've talked about that a number of times. I think Magneto's the best, and then probably Batman, then probably Superman, then probably Wolverine. But that's a good list, man. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Wolverine, and the Flash. I don't see the Flash put in a lot of people's lists. That's a good one. That's a nice one to have in there. That mixes it up a little bit, Gabriel. I like that. All right, Jared McBride writes, John, I love your Dungeons and Dragons table. Your friend did a great job. It's awesome. I love this table. I love this table. If you guys didn't see the little video I did on it, my friend who plays in our D&D group, he's also a Hollywood production designer. So he designed this table, had a carpenter friend, so he did all the design. Carpenter friend then built it for him, so I only had to pay for materials. This table would have cost thousands of dollars. I spent a couple of $100 because all I really had to do was pay for materials, and I recycled a TV, an old 65-inch TV that I had laying around. So I was able to recycle that, put that, if you want to see it, just go to my channel and search for Dungeons and Dragons table John Campea. Just search for that, you'll see the table. It's great. I'm still kind of geeking out over it, and I love that we get to use it on Sunday nights. ZMG Ruler writes, surprised to see Toy Story 4 only open to 118. Yeah, I thought it might do a little bit better, but still, it's $118 million. It's a huge opening. It's the biggest opening in the history of the franchise. Remember, Toy Story 3 opened to less, and it joined the $1 billion club. Pardon me. So keep that in mind. And the kids' animated things, they're not like a lot of the other big blockbusters where everybody feels that immediate need to rush out and see it right away. I think this movie's going to have really good legs. I also think it'll join the $1 billion club, and it is the biggest opening for the franchise ever. But yeah, I'll admit too, I thought it would open a little bit bigger than that. Patrick Conway writes, do you think Sony Marvel will go big at SDCC? Well, I mean, Marvel is doing a Hall H, so it all depends. I do think they're going to make some big announcements. I think they're going to make some big major announcements there. We'll find out for sure in just a few weeks. Jared McBride writes, who wins in a fight, Justin Hartley's Smallville's Green Arrow or Stephen Amell's Green Arrow? Stephen Amell's Green Arrow, because Stephen Amell's Green Arrow was the Batman of that universe. Like, where he even took down Flash, on one version of their fights. So I will go. I love Justin Hartley's Green Arrow, by the way. I loved his Green Arrow, but I think the Stephen Amell Green Arrow, the way they write it, I think the Stephen Amell Green Arrow wins that fight. Bruce Wayne sends in a super chat. Thank you, Bruce Wayne. Paul Nolan writes in, hey, John, greetings from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you so much, where my all-time favorite band is from, you too. Bet if MCU stopped doing fake deaths, you'd immediately want those characters back if they were favorite ones. Not necessarily. No. I watched Sons of Anarchy. They killed off my favorite character in Ope. They killed off my favorite character. Did I want him back? No. Because, that's the thing. When I'm watching a show like a Sons of Anarchy or a Game of Thrones or a Sopranos, when a character dies, there is much more powerful, dramatic, and emotional impact for an audience member than there is in a comic book movie. Why? Because when you're watching a show like Sons of Anarchy or Sopranos or something like that, and a character gets shot in the head, you know they're gone. And the full weight and impact of that loss is very tangible. And it has a much deeper and profound impact on yourself as a viewer and on that show moving forward, because there's no coming back from that, right? And because there's no coming back from that, it has in and of itself an intrinsic power to it that a comic book movie death just can't do. Like that, as great as it was, Peter Parker's death at the end of Infinity War, it was great, but it wasn't as great as it could have been, because even though the scene was great, I was like, oh yeah, but he's coming back. He's going to be back pretty soon there. So you lose something there. Something there is gone. Whereas when you're watching Sons of Anarchy and, Bobby dies and Gemma it has such more important, bigger, tangible, and long-lasting impact on you as an audience member and on the show as a whole. So when Opie died, and it caused major ripples through the show and through myself as an audience member, he was my favorite character, but would I want them to backwalk that? No. because of the impact that it had and the power of that scene and what happened in the show. And look, I'm okay with the odd use of a fake death. I'm okay with the odd use of it. Hell, even Star Wars looks like they're going to do one by bringing the Emperor back to life. That's a fake death, but it's one fake death in 40 years of them doing these movies. I'm okay with that. The DC movies have already done one fake death with Superman, dead at the end of one movie, back in another one. Okay, so there's one. I'm okay with the odd fake death. It's just that the MCU has done it so many times, it becomes a little bit irritating, but still the bottom line is they make great movies, and that's all that's really important. But no, my favorite characters die. If they die in a great way, in a memorable way, in a way that created impact and power that had ripples for me as a viewer and the show as a whole, then no, don't take that back. Don't undo that. It was powerful. It was meaningful. Leave it as it is. We just don't feel that in comic book movies. Even as Tony was dying in Endgame, it was a great scene. Don't get me wrong. It's a great scene. But I know he's going to be back at some point. So it loses a little bit of the edge. As I'm watching Black Panther die in Infinity War, as I'm watching Loki die, one of the 3 or 4 times he's died, when I'm watching Peter Parker die, it's still good, it's still great, but I know they're coming back, so it doesn't have that sense of finality. And without that sense of finality, you lose a big dramatic edge. You lose a big dramatic edge. So no, if my favorite, like if Captain America, if the MCU didn't do fake deaths and Captain America had this big heroic death saving the world, no, I wouldn't want them to walk back on it. I wouldn't. I'd look forward to the MCU rebooting and bringing Captain America back again because they're rebooting the universe. I'd look forward to that, but no, I wouldn't want them to bring him back. So anyway, every situation is different, but that's just kind of how I feel about that in general. All right, Valhalla Erickson writes, surprised Wheel of Time never got a proper live action adaptation. If there is a book series that could take over Game of Thrones, this is the one. Well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, it's all about, look, what I have found is this. It's less about the quality of the books and it's all about the execution. Right? It's less about the quality of the books and it's all about the execution. We have all seen great books badly executed into either a TV series or a movie or something, and it does not work out nearly as well. It's not that the books weren't good, it's just that it's all about the execution. And it's kind of like comic books. Like it used to be, people think, oh, this villain's a great villain in the comic books. If you put him in the movies, it'll be awesome. Doctor Doom, right? Like what I've just come to really learn is that it almost doesn't matter how good, it doesn't matter how good the comic book character is. It doesn't matter. That's the comic book. All that matters is how does it translate on the screen and how good of a job do the filmmakers do translating it on the screen. That's all that's going to matter. I've seen so many bad movies based on great books that I've just come to realize it almost doesn't matter how good the books are if they aren't executed well and translated properly to the big screen. So, I mean, that's going to be the big question. That's going to be the big question, Valhalla, and we'll see how well do they execute. You know, some people go, well, Game of Thrones is only good because the books are good. Yeah, if that was the case, then every adaptation of a great book onto the screen would have been great, and they're not, are they? So there goes that argument. It's all about execution. We'll just have to wait and see how well they execute. And we'll find out. We'll find out. Let's see. Dancing Dog 60 writes, think New Gods ever gets made, John? I have my doubts. I really do. I know, look, they got Ava DuVernay on that. They just announced one of the writers of the comic book series is coming on to consult with her and work with her on developing a script, all that kind of stuff. I am just in a Dancing Dog, I'll believe it when I see it. I have my doubts. I have my doubts. All right, Gabriel Bloom writes, there are MCU fake deaths, but Yondu died and he was a fan favorite, and James Gunn, he's staying dead if he's there. Love your work since AM, probably mean AMC. Have a good day. But again, he's not one of the major characters. He's not even one of the primary Guardians of the Galaxy. Right? He is a 6th level character in Guardians of the Galaxy. Star-Lord is more important of a character. Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Groot. Then maybe you can say Yondu. So they've done several, like Pierce is dead, and they kept Pierce dead. There are several minor characters along the way that they've done it. And Quicksilver is the one big exception. Quicksilver is the one big exception that they killed, and they just kept him dead, as far as major sort of characters go. But everybody else, I mean, Thor, they did the whole Thor thing twice. Oh, look, Thor's dead, lying on the ground in the New Mexico desert, dead. Thor, no, he's dead. But wait, Mjolnir starts to shake and come off the ground and fly to his hand. Oh, he's alive, everybody. And then they did the exact same thing. The exact same thing. They did in Infinity War. Oh, and Nidavellir, right? Oh, Thor's dead. Look, the sunburn was too much. He's lying dead. But wait, Stormbreaker starts to shake and hover off the ground and fly to his hand, and oh, he's up, and they just repeated the exact same thing they did before. And don't get me wrong, I love both of those scenes. I eat those scenes up. I really do. I think those scenes are great. But yeah, when it comes to major characters, they just, they off Spider-Man, he's back. They off Nick Fury in Winter Soldier, he's back by the end of the movie. They off Loki a number of times, he comes back every single time. They killed Black Panther. Oh no, Black Panther's dead. And then later in the film, wait, here he is. M'Baku has him. He's been alive the whole time. It's just their habit. It's just their habit. But again, the bottom line is the movies are great, and so I live with it, so it's totally fine. Dylan Trost writes, when I look at fan Game of Thrones season rankings, 7 and 8 are often very low. Do you think they are unfairly criticized because they don't follow the books? And it's not my place to make excuses for why other people don't like what I'd like. It is what it is. For me, seasons 7 and 8 are two of my favorite seasons. I think they're both great. I do think 8 was a bit rushed. But other than the fact that it felt rushed, it was still magnificent to me. I love season 8. Loved it. Unapologetically. Whether or not it's other people don't because they don't follow the books, I'm not going to make excuses for why other people don't like what I like. People who don't like season 7 or don't like season 8, they have their own reasons, and they're perfectly entitled to them. So I'm not going to sit here and undermine and just say, well, it's just because they didn't like the books. I'm not going to do that. Maybe that's true for some people, but like I said, far be it for me to make an excuse for why they don't like what I like. Canada Rocks writes, actors as good or better than their father. Jane Fonda? I don't know if I'd say she's better than Henry Fonda, but that's a good one. Michael Douglas and Kirk Douglas, that's a good one to bring up. Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges, that's a good one too. I particularly like the Jeff Bridges. The Fonda one's a little questionable, but I do like the Michael Douglas and the Jeff Bridges one though. That's a good one to have. And by the way, Bo, Jeff's brother, he hasn't had nearly as successful a career as Jeff has, but Bo's a great actor too. Bo Bridges is a great actor too. So that's a good one to bring up, Canada Rocks. Thank you for bringing that up. I like that. All right. Darian Boyd writes, still waiting for Regal's version of A-List. I know, but believe me, it's coming. They're now owned by Cineworld, and Cineworld's had movie memberships for like a decade. It's coming. They're taking their time, but believe me, it's coming. Regal is going to have their own version of A-List. How soon? I thought we would have had it by now. I really did. I thought we would have had it by April of this year. Didn't happen, but I have zero doubt. It's coming. It is coming. All right. Yusuf Alvi writes, do you think that Conor McGregor can pull a Mike Tyson and realize he has done bad things and try to atone for them, or is he too far gone? Well, I mean, look, I think Conor McGregor is this is just my opinion. I think he's a first-rate D-bag. But then again, I don't know the man. I've never sat down and had a coffee with Conor McGregor. I've never sat down and had a coffee with anybody. I don't drink coffee. But I've never sat down and had a drink with Conor McGregor. I don't know him personally. I just know he's pulled a lot of stuff that I am really disgusted by. So I don't know. And let's be honest, I don't know if the Mike Tyson thing is a fair comparison. I don't know. So it's a good question. Look, everybody loves a good redemption story, though. We were talking a little bit before that everybody loves a good comeback story. Everybody loves a good redemption story, too. And the only time I want to watch Conor McGregor now is when I'm watching him get his ass whipped. Like by Khabib. Oh, that was so good. Or by, Money Mayweather or whatever. The only time I like seeing Conor McGregor now is when he is getting his ass kicked. But we all love a good redemption story. And maybe there is one there for Conor McGregor. Who knows? And if there is, you know, hey, why not? Why not? Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But if it did, why not? Why shouldn't he have that opportunity as much as anybody? All right, Michael Bradley writes, hey, John, I saw you did a Sleepy Hollow after show. We did. My favorite first season of any TV show. Then it fell on its face in the second season. I still liked second season. I did. But that was a pretty good show. My all-time favorite first season of television, and not ironically, but appropriately, my all-time favorite single season of television ever was Heroes with Milo Ventimiglia. Heroes season 1 is my all-time favorite single season of television. Now, unfortunately, in season 2, it began to stumble and it never recovered after that. But season 1 of Heroes is my all-time favorite season. And I really did like that first season of Sleepy Hollow. I thought it was creative and had a nice fun energy to it, nice little horror twist to it. I thought it was pretty good. It never was as good as the first season, but I still thought the second season was good, but yeah, then it kind of went down. I never did finish the final season. I started watching the final season without the girl, and I got about 3 or 4 episodes into it, and I'm like, I tap it out. I couldn't even finish it, but I love that first season. I even love the second season. Echo Base Network writes, do you know or ever do green screen stuff? Oh, I used to do a bunch of green screen. I still have my collapsible green screen over here. I used to use green screen for my movie reviews and stuff like that. I just found it's easier not to do it, but yeah, I can do green screen stuff. Still, I've got all my green screen stuff right over there in that closet. I can pull it out anytime I need to do it and just do it whenever I need to. Alex Navis sends in a super chat. Thank you, Alex. Doshi writes, John, you forgot Friday's companion video. I did not forget Friday's companion video. I just didn't have time to do it. Ann and I had things we had to do that night. I had a few things come up on Friday, so I didn't have a chance to do it. But it'll get done. By the end of the day, Monday, I might see if we have leftover questions on Monday and then incorporate them in with the Friday one. So I did not forget it. I just haven't had an opportunity to do it. Then I was out of town yesterday. I just got back this morning. As soon as I got back, it's doing this show. Then we got to do the Toy Story 4 show. Then I got company coming over. So I just haven't had a chance to do it yet, but it's going to get done. It's going to get done. All right. Nick writes, and Nick sends in a really big super chat. Thank you, Nick, who writes, hey, John, I didn't want you to make a whole main topic. Oh, you're the guy who wrote on about the movie wall. I didn't want you to make a whole main topic on my movie wall. That'd be selfish of me. I wanted to see your first reaction to it on open mic. Sent the photo via email. I had no other way of showing it to you. Well, again, I can't do that. I haven't even opened the emails, and I probably got about 300 or 400 messages sitting in there right now. So I don't have time to go in there and just go through all of them and see if I can find yours and all that kind of stuff. Again, that's not generally stuff I do, but now I feel bad because you send in two massive you send in this super amount of supporting the channel. I appreciate that, but it's not what we do here. We don't pull in and highlight everybody's individual stuff here on the show. So it's not really what I do, but I guarantee you, I am going to go in there and find it. And when I find it, I will tell you my reaction. I will email you back and tell you my reaction. 100% guaranteed I will. But that sort of thing about, because what I don't want to do, Nick, here is if I do this for your wall, I know this sounds like a slippery slope argument, and it is in a way, admittedly. But if I do that, then what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to get people sending me pictures of their dog or of this collectible figure or of this collectible DVD. And if I don't show theirs, then because believe me, I've been doing this for a lot of years. Believe me, Nick, this happens. What's going to immediately happen is I'm going to get people pissed off at me. It's like, well, you showed that one guy's movie collection. Why aren't you showing mine? You know what I mean? It's what happens. Believe me, it's what happens. Me and Dennis used to go, oh my God, about this all the time because it would happen all the time. Somebody will email me and say, John, please shout out my birthday today. It's like, I can't really do that because if I do, then I'm going to get every single day people ask me, why don't I shout out their birthdays? Or people send in and say, John, I wrote the screenplay. Can you read it for me? Well, I can't because if I don't have time, but if I do, everybody's going to expect me to read their screenplay and talk about their screenplay on my show. And I just can't do that. So I feel terrible, Nick. You sent this big amount of support for the channel. I'm so grateful for that. But again, it's not something I can do right now because I can't wade through 300 or 400 emails. So I probably got waiting since Thursday to do it. But I will take a look at it. I promise you, when I come across your email, I will take a look at your collection and I'll send you back my thought on it. And I am looking forward to seeing it though. So I am looking forward to seeing it. All right. Patrick Conway writes, if you step out that door and you fight and you fight. Okay, if you step out that door and you fight to kill, you are an Avenger, is my favorite scene in Age of Ultron. Proves Scarlet Witch is an Avenger. That was Hawkeye that gave her that little speech. I really liked, by the way, side note here, Patrick, I really like that at the end of Endgame, one of the final shots of Endgame was actually Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye together, because I think that was a nice callback and recognition of the connection that those two have had through the movies, going back to that moment in Ultron. So I thought it was really, I was a little bit surprised that they did one of those precious final spots and final shots with Hawkeye and Witch, but it's like, it felt right, you know? It felt right that they did that, partially because of the extension of the conversation that you're pointing out. So that's one of the reasons why I like that so much. Let's see. Doshi writes, I agree. Boston cream donuts are the best, particularly Tim Horton donuts. Boston cream donuts, Doshi, my all-time favorite donut anywhere. And then Doshi writes, want to say love your channel and everything you do. Thank you so much, Doshi, and I love having you as a part of it, man, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. It's always great when somebody just wants to write and say something nice. And I don't have a Tim Hortons near me, so go and have a Boston cream donut on me. All right. The Caribbean Great Gatsby writes, I feel you on Man of Steel. That film is a treasure. Dude, I will always say, until something else comes along, Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. Simply of all time. Duroc Media writes, super chat to say something nice. You, Ann, and Ray are awesome. Thank you so much, Duroc. I appreciate that. Fact checker Jonathan's pretty great too. But yes, Ann is awesome. I love her. She was home, but she's out having lunch with Corey right now. She'll be back soon. And Ray does a great job on the channel as well. So thank you, Duroc. I really appreciate that, man. That was very thoughtful of you. All right, Millennial Dreams writes, for Batman 89 30th, I made a fan trailer in the vein of Matt Reeves' Batman. Well, we haven't even seen Matt Reeves' Batman, so who knows who that's going to be. Titled The Batman 2021, starring Robert Pattinson, inspired by the Long Halloween noir fan trailer. Would love your opinion, if not all love. You know what? I think somebody else sent me something about that. I've heard of this. I've heard of this, Millennial Dreams. I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it yet, but I have heard of a Batman with Robert Pattinson noir fan trailer. That would be funny if that was actually yours that they were talking about. I'll tell you what, I will keep my eye open for that one. I will go and see if I can find that one. That's really cool. Because it's just funny that you mentioned that, because I've had other people mention that specific one to me before. So I got to make sure I got to go and check that out. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for the super chat, man, and supporting the channel on that level. I appreciate it, Millennial. Jonas Tiger writes, $2 Batman 89 30th anniversary today. Your thoughts? On what? Wait, it's $2 to rent Batman on this 30th anniversary, or just the fact that it's had its 30th anniversary? We were actually talking about the Batman 30th anniversary the other day. Always makes me think of my buddy that died 2 years ago that I went to go see it with when I was younger, seeing it at the Jackson Square Mall in Hamilton, Ontario. It is crazy that it's 30 years old, but it's one of those films that feels 30 years old because it was such a long time ago, you know? But I love that movie, man. I love that movie. Dancing Dog 60 writes, would Raiders have been a classic with Selleck? Probably. It would have been a little different. But Tom Selleck was a great charismatic performer as well. I'm sure he would have done something great. It still would have been the same movie as far as the same story, same dialogue, all that kind of stuff. That still would have been in there. Maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been a little worse. But I have no doubt it still would have been great. And again, maybe we would have thought it was even better with Tom Selleck. Maybe he would have been a better Indiana Jones. It feels sacrilegious to say that, but you never know. It's possible. A lot of people don't even know that Tom Selleck was cast and he was supposed to be Indiana Jones, but he had to back out because he had a contractual obligation to go and do this little TV series called Magnum P.I. I'd say it worked out for him pretty well. It worked out for everybody pretty well, so it still worked out pretty good. Doshi writes, Pixar should change their name to Crytime Studios. They're doing such a great job. Whether it's Coco, the last few ones like Coco, and now Toy Story 4 have really pulling the emotional strings up. Inside Out. Oh my God, they do such a great job of not just making, look, we're a kiddie movie, but doing real deeper issues, real emotion. They're doing such a good job with that stuff. I'm not going to read the name of it. You should sub everybody that sends super chats as thanks. I don't know what does it mean to sub everybody? I don't know what that means. Flacken writes, I found your YouTube show while geeking out about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Great show. Keep it up. Oh, thank you so much, Falcon or Foul? I'm going to say Falcon. That's how I'm going to go with that. I found your YouTube show while geeking out about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Great show. Keep it up. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And it's always good to have new people along for the ride as well. And it's always good to have new voices and people coming in and joining the conversation. So thank you for that, Falcon. I really appreciate it. And good to have you here, man. All right. Valhalla Erickson writes, I find the DC animated movies, with a couple of exceptions, more enjoyable than most of the live-action DCU films. Well, I'm obviously a little bit different about how, like, I like all the DCU films, some more than others, and some less than others. Like, I even got a kick out of, there are some terrible, terrible things about Suicide Squad, no doubt. But I thought the fun stuff in it outweighed the negative. And I'm the same way with Justice League. Well, I really like Justice League, actually. But I'm the same way with Batman vs. Superman. I like all the DCU films. Sue me. I like all the DCU films. So I'm a little bit more on that. I have a really hard time liking any of the DC animated stuff. Again, there are a couple of exceptions. Dark Knight Returns, Under the Red Hood. There are a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, I just find the DC animated stuff and the Marvel animated stuff, by the way, just unwatchable. But that's just me. I know a lot of people love that, and I think you probably find Valhalla will probably find more people agree with you on this matter than agree with me, to be honest with you. But that's just kind of the way I feel about it. All right, Suthius writes, just woke up from a nap, Mr. Campea. What did I miss? Have we talked about the usual topics? Yes, Snyder Cut. Nope, no Snyder Cut. Endgame. Actually, really no Endgame stuff, really. Actor X's Character X. How about some filthy? I don't know that we've covered any of that stuff today so far, to be honest with you. It's a rare day that way, Suthius. John McKinney writes, Frollo is my favorite Disney villain. Your opinion? I don't even remember who Frollo is off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Feel bad about that. Don't know what to put writes, trying DaVinci Resolve 16 beta right now. It's free. Yep. It's like, so that comes from somebody who's asking me the other day about video editing software. Now, I use Adobe Premiere, and I love it. There was a day and an era when I used to use not After Effects. I still use After Effects. When I used to use Final Cut Pro, but Premiere just matured and became just a lot of films edit now on Adobe Premiere. But we're talking about how there's this other software out there that's becoming very popular. And it's called DaVinci Resolve. And even the Pro version is like under $300 for the Pro version. And it comes with a lot. But there is a free version you can get to download and use as well. So I encourage a lot of people to check it out. If you want to get into some video editing, try DaVinci Resolve. There's a free version that's very, very capable. It's not like a crippled version of the Pro version. It's a real capable video editing software all on its own. And I've been really thinking about just getting it and trying it myself. But I'm so addicted to Premiere, and I just know Premiere so well. It's hard for me to break outside of that. All right, Suthius writes. Sorry, lost Suthius. Where'd Suthius go? By the way, guys, if you have not yet sent in a super chat, please don't send in anymore, because I got to get this thing wound up, because I got to start getting ready for the Toy Story, the Toy Story open spoiler discussion at 3 o'clock. Okay. And my throat is almost out. I haven't even had time to take a break today, so we've been going for almost 2.5 hours. Suthius writes, I remember first seeing Jason Statham in The One. Yeah, that's right, with Jet Li. It wasn't until The Transporter when I said, this guy can do action. Loved him ever since, though I admit I don't like his Crank movies. Oh, that breaks my heart, Suthius. I love his Crank movies. Those are other than my favorite Jason Statham performance and movie is probably the other one, Snatch. Also directed by Guy Ritchie. They're both, Lock, Stock, and Snatch, both directed by Guy Ritchie. I love Snatch so much. And Jason Statham is so good in those movies. But other than that, my favorite films of his are in Crank, I gotta say. It's a shame you don't like them, and they're not for everybody. Crank films are just totally bonkers. So they're not for everybody. Absolutely, they're not for everybody. But dude, I love those. Yeah, The One, Transporter, what was the name of the one? It was the bank heist movie where he did the bank heist. I really like that one as well. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. He's done a number of really great. I'm a big Jason Statham fan. I am an unapologetic big Jason Statham fan, and I like the Crank movies. Echo Base Network writes, John, thoughts on Tropic Thunder 2? As in, would I like there to be one? I'd be down. Yeah, I'd totally be down. I love the first one. Bring those characters back. Let us see those characters again. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting text messages from people. Okay. The Sock writes, horror directors to watch out for, like Ari Aster. I don't really stay tuned in to the horror genre that much. I mean, I've been appreciating a lot of the horror we've been getting the last couple of years, but to be honest with you, I'm not really as tuned into the horror world as, say, like a Robert Meyer Burnett is. Robert just loves horror and the horror world, but I'm not really tuned into it as much. My throat's going on me, guys, because I didn't take a break and I've run out of liquid to drink. All right. Stephen Beam writes, do it. Psych is great. Friday for your tech vid. Oh, I doubt it'll be this Friday, because that video is going to take me, doing that tech vid is going to take me a little while to put together, and I do not have time for it this week, but hopefully before the end of the summer. I'm hoping before the end of the summer I'll be able to put that video together, but that's going to take some time, and I don't know that I wouldn't possibly be able to do it before Comic-Con, I don't think. All right, Suthius writes, I first saw Jamie Chung on a reality show, The Real World, San Diego. She's built up quite a career since then. Just like any Asian, she hasn't aged a day. No, she hasn't. She hasn't aged a day. It's crazy. And, you know, funny thing is, when I first met Jamie Chung, I was on my way to go interview her for Sucker Punch. I was on my way into Beverly Hills to do the Sucker Punch cast interviews. And Anne hands me this picture of their sorority when they were in university together. And it's this group picture of their sorority. And she goes, just take this and give it to Jamie and show it to Jamie. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go, and this is one of the coolest things ever. I go around, start interviewing different casts, and then it comes time for me to go and interview Jamie. So I go and I sit down with Jamie, and I go, by the way, I was asked to give this to you. And I give her this picture of her old sorority. And she goes, oh my God, like, where did you get this from? She's at me. I'm saying, you see that girl? And I point to Anne. I'm like, that's my wife. And she looks, she goes, you're married to Ann Ora. I'm like, well, her name now is Ann Campea, but yes, I'm married to Ann. She goes, seriously? I'm like, yeah. She goes, how is she? I'm like, she's great. And actually, that was the one time Ann came with me to a junket. And she was just waiting down in the press room for me. She wasn't going to come up or anything. She goes, how's Ann? And I'm like, well, she's actually here. She goes, what? And I'm like, yeah. She turns to the publisher. She goes, I need a minute. And Jamie Chung gets up. They never do this. She left the interview area, went down to the press room where all the press were waiting their turns, and Anne's down there. Got to get together and chat with her, and then they've chatted ever since. But just such a cool, wonderful person. Just such a delight, and a really talented actress as well. She did this one film that she was in at the South by Southwest Film Festival, where she played this woman. It was a true life story who got sold into human sex trafficking early in. It's powerful. It's great. She's really a great actress as well. And of course, then she did like Big Hero 6, and so I've had a chance to get together and talk with her on a number of occasions. But just a wonderful person to be around, wonderfully talented actress. And I hope for some really good things. And you're right, she hasn't aged a freaking day. Jaron Morris writes, Cain in Supernatural is God in Lucifer. Like, oh, Cain in Supernatural. Oh, I was thinking, no, Cain is played by Tom Welling. Oh, no, Cain in Supernatural is God in Lucifer? Well, I mean, we never seen God in Lucifer. Well, no, let me take that back. There was a guy in Lucifer who thought he was God because he had a particular relic that gave him a lot of God's memories, and he thought he was God, and even made Lucifer think he was God. I totally didn't even realize that those two were the same dudes. That's a good observation, Jaron. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, RSN2277 writes, Yo, John, great show always. Listen to your thoughts for Cinemark monthly service and disagree. Alamo Blumhouse has $22 a month equals 7 movies a week. Regal has different plans, $23 a month for 7 movies per week. Check Reddit. And AMC has A-List. Still think 1 ticket a month for $10 is worth it. Can Cinemark change? No, look, RSN, this is the thing. Don't misquote me. I never said that Cinemark's was as good as A-List. I never said Cinemark's was as good as what the Alamo one is going to be. I never said that. What I did say was that in the absence of it, of any other movie deal, that's a good deal. That's a good deal in the absence of other deals. Because look, if you're just somebody like most people, you just go to the movies and you buy a ticket every time you go to the movies, then a deal like Cinemark, if that's your local theater, that's a good deal. Because like if the average movie ticket is like $13-14 a ticket, but you can get tickets for $10, you spend $10 a month, you get a discount on your concession stands, and you get one movie ticket for $10, but you can continue to buy other movie tickets for just $10, which is a discount from what you normally buy them for. That's a good deal. That is a deal that saves you money. So it's a good deal. I never said it was as good as A-List. I never said there weren't other better deals out there, but the Cinemark deal is a good deal. You know, because a lot of people live around theaters where they don't have A-List and there is no deal to have. Well, if you live by Cinemark and you go to a couple movies a month, a Cinemark deal is going to save you money. Not as much as an A-List will save you, no, but it's still a good deal. Just because, look, it's the same thing to me, RSN, that like, just because a movie isn't as good as Godfather doesn't mean it's not a good movie. Is the Cinemark deal as good as AMC's deal? No, but that doesn't mean it's not a good deal. It is a good deal. If you get that Cinemark membership, then at the end of each month, if you go to 1 or 2 or 3 movies, you're going to save money. And if you save money and it costs you less to go to the movies, then it is by definition a good deal. It's not as good as A-List, not as good as the upcoming Alamo one, but it's still a good deal if you don't have another deal there. You know, Shazam may not be as good as The Godfather, but that doesn't mean Shazam's not still a good movie in and of itself. So that's what I was saying, and I still believe that Cinemark is a good deal. And if you don't agree, so you're telling me you're not saving money? Of course you're saving money. If you get the Cinemark deal and that's your local theater, you will save money. I'm not suggesting it's as good as AMC. I'm not suggesting it's as good as some of the other ones, but it's still a good deal. That's all I'm saying. It's still a good deal. Anyway, Paul Nolan writes, I mean, like comics, come back in new series movies. I mean, like comics come back in new series movies. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. I don't know what it is. I always feel bad when somebody takes the time to send in something and I don't know what it is they're asking. I'm sorry, but I can't piece together what it is you're saying. I apologize for that, man. Maybe I'm just a little bit slow. Brandon Callow writes, is there anywhere we can watch the anniversary? No, not right now, but I am going to be making it available pretty soon to my Patreon supporters. I'm going to be pretty soon. It's not there right now, so it's not there now. But soon I will be uploading it and letting my Patreon supporters see it. So that's how you'll be able to watch it. The Anniversary is the name of the little movie I made. Jeff Mitchell sends a super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Phoenix DTS writes, seen the trailer for Peanut Butter Falcon. Looks nice. I have not even heard of that. What a wacky trailer. Peanut Butter Falcon. I've not even heard of that. It sounds crazy though. I'm just going to have to look that up. Nick writes, oh my God, my voice. Okay. Hey, John, all good, man. I totally understand. I wonder if Rob would enjoy seeing my movie wall as well, as he's a DVD collector. I meant no disrespect taken at all, Nick. None at all. No disrespect to your other loyal viewers at all. You honestly deserve my super chat. Well, no, I don't deserve shit. Let's be clear about that. I don't deserve shit. You guys supporting the channel is remarkable. I don't deserve it, and you owe it to me. Not at all. Not in the least. You guys, it's incredibly supportive and really high quality of you guys to support the shows that you like to watch. So thank you for that. Don't think for a second that I deserve it. I don't deserve it. You guys supporting it is all goodwill on your part, and I thank you for that. It's very gracious. But no disrespect taken at all. None at all. And I'm sure Rob would. As a guy who has huge wall, I would absolutely encourage you to send it. Actually, I'll forward. When I do come across and dig up your message, I will make sure I forward that to Robert as well. Because as a big fan of physical media that Rob is, just a drop. As big of a fan of physical media that Rob is, I'm totally sure he'll dig it. I'm totally sure he'll dig it. So I'll make sure I forward that to him as well, Nick. So thanks for the follow-up, man. And final question today. Mike Trout writes, John, I wish you would let Rob speak more often. Usually find him more thoughtful and less elitist than others. Hey, I let Robert speak as much as he wants. I let Robert speak as much as he wants. So, I mean, it's except for in super chats. In super chats, there's just so many questions that get sent in that I owe it to the viewers to get through. First of all, I try to get through all of them if I can. And if I can't get through all of them, I owe it to the people sending in super chats to get through as many as I possibly can. So when I'm doing super chats, and like if I had Rob chime in on every single one, I wouldn't get through half. And that's not fair to the people sending in super chats. So the thing is, and Rob completely agrees with me, by the way. So when we come across smaller questions, I just address them pretty quick. When we come across bigger ones, then I also throw that over to Rob as well when we get his input. But there just isn't time. There just isn't time to have two people answering every single super chat that gets sent in on the show. It's just not practical. Because that would mean, like, we don't always get through all the questions, but I owe it to the audience to get through as many of them as I possibly can. Because yes, I have companion videos, but it's better to get your question answered on the show when you actually sent it in. It is better that way. And I owe it to the audience to get through as many of those as possible. So that's why, if you're talking about during the super chats that I only have Robert chime in every second or every third question, that's why. Because there's a time issue at play there, and I need to get through as many of them as possible because people deserve to get them answered. And so that's why that happens, just so you know, Mike. All right, and Nick B just throws in one and says, "You can rest now, John will be okay." Thank you, Pepper. Thank you. And with that said, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and being a part of it. Thank you to everybody and all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you sent in great topics and fun stuff for us to talk about, but also because you supported the channel while you were doing it along the way, and I thank you for that. Rob, thanks you. Fact Checker Jonathan, thanks you. Rach, thanks you. All of us here, thank you for that. And guess what? This week I'm going to be interviewing and auditioning new potential hosts. Now that Ashley isn't with us anymore because of her acting gig and auditioning schedule, because she's just so good, she's going to be huge. But she's not with us anymore. So I'm going to be auditioning new people this week. I'm actually going to be auditioning some people. I might even bring a couple on. I don't know if I'm going to do this, but I'm thinking about, I've already got like 400 resumes in. But I'm thinking about maybe narrowing it down to my top 3 choices, and then maybe bringing each one of them on for one show, and then letting you guys give your thoughts. But then it's kind of like a reality game show. I don't know if that's fair to the applicants. Or maybe the applicants would think that's fun. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing something like that, but we'll see how that goes on through the week. Guys, don't forget, Toy Story 4, open spoiler discussion, if I still have my voice, at 3 p.m., so about an hour and a half from now. Make sure you come back and join us then. Guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks so much for being here and being a part of my weekend. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. And until Toy Story, bye-bye.